Chapter 845. Fanny was in the midst of pill refinement, and she finally fell into despair at the sight of Enlin's performance. Enlin was definitely the most supremely talented pill refinement master they had ever seen in their lives. 7 types of flames appear at the same time, 1 holy flame and 6 divine flames. This was an extremely shocking sight to behold. However, there were also many living beings who felt like Enlin was only showing off. She turned her head and saw a familiar man looking at her. "Hey, Fanny, are you all right?" At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded. Enlin replied with a nonchalant expression, "I'm fine. I can just refine whatever I want anyway. There's no need to pay attention to it. Are you really all right?" At the end of the day, she was only a girl in her 20s. A burst of raucous cheers and applause erupted from the crowd as a show of respect. Enlin's hands continued to dance through the air. After a while, around an hour later, why was there such a huge disparity between his imagination and reality? That's terrifying. Is this human a monster? How could he be so powerful? "Gray, why are you kneeling on the ground?" Julia asked with a curious expression. "Hey, are you really all right?" Enlin wore a concerned expression as he asked, "Do you have any regenerative spirit pills? Do you want me to give you some?" Gray was just about to crawl up from the ground when he saw what Enlin was doing, and he knelt back down again. Fanny's lips twitched as she clasped a hand over her chest again. Her eyes widened in shock. Don't you need your eyes to see when you refine pills?" Gray remained kneeling on the ground. He felt like he couldn't get up anymore. However, even though something like this had happened, no one cared about him. They were all watching Enlin refine pills. "If you want to vomit blood, go do it somewhere else. Don't block our view." Everyone stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before their eyes, as if they had seen something extremely bizarre and unacceptable. They then turned their eyes toward Enlin to enjoy his performance. Atop the 7-colored glazed pagoda, the pill sage's hands trembled slightly as he stared at the man's performance. He really wanted to charge toward him, but he forcibly repressed the urge. Enlin blinked his eyes in confusion. Why was he the scapegoat? Apart from this, the other divine flames also carried out their own duties, throwing themselves towards the various medicinal ingredients, separating and merging them. Every single step was just that perfect, without the slightest mistake. A faintly discernible sigh could be heard from the top of the tower. "How terrifying! It's not shameful for my daughter to be defeated by him." The golden pill appeared in the void, like a resplendent star, releasing a bright luster. Fanny had successfully refined a first-grade spirit pill. That's right, that warm-hearted man who asked if she was all right was precisely Enlin who was refining pills. Please stop provoking me." Fanny clasped a hand over her heart as tears flowed from her eyes. How is this possible? The elder, covered in white flames, slammed the table and stood up with a look of disbelief on his face. A mummy-like elder with crimson eyes and purple bandages wrapped around his body rubbed his crimson eyes as he murmured, "This doesn't make sense. How'd he do it? My God, what did I just see? He can refine pills without even using his eyes?" PFFF. Enlin's exemplary performance made Fanny feel like she was a bronze contestant, and a bronze contestant who insisted on showing off in front of an immortal king. My view of cultivation has been refreshed countless times today, and it's all because of this man named Enlin. What three-way competition? What three-way competition? All of that was like a joke now. Her pride had been completely crushed by the sight of Enlin summoning 7 types of terrifying flames and being able to control them with proficiency. The 7 extremely powerful flames with different types of energy and attributes were like obedient fairies in the hands of the man on the stage, perfectly extracting the essence from the medicinal ingredients. Pill condensation, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation swept forth. Using so many flames to refine pills at once was simply a fantasy. This required godlike control over flames to be able to coordinate the 7 flames. Among pill refinement masters, it was already very impressive to be able to control one divine flame with proficiency. However, what he didn't expect was that his actions would cause another massive stir on the Dow Plaza. Finally, the most critical moment had arrived. Fanny was Xiao's future wife, so as her master, he naturally had to show some concern for her. Boom! Fanny faltered slightly upon hearing this, as an astonished expression appeared on her face. Fanny couldn't help but throw up a mouthful of blood after forcefully activating her secret technique. If she had successfully refined a first-grade spirit pill during the new Excellence Cup pill refinement competition, it would definitely have created a massive stir and made her the most dazzling presence in Pill City. Controlling two divine flames at once wasn't as simple as doing two things at once. Instead, one had to consider whether or not the two flames would conflict with one another, as well as how to coordinate and distribute the flames, as well as how to harmonize their attributes and temperatures. This was far more difficult than doing two things at once. Fanny was very tired, and she really wanted this competition to end as soon as possible. And Lin's performance was giving her a headache. But now, there were only half-hearted cheers and applause then, right before the incredulous eyes of hundreds of thousands of living beings. The 7 types of flames sprang into action at the same time. And Lin controlled each high-rank spirit herb with one hand, while controlling the 7 different types of flames with his other hand to dance among the spirit herbs. Could it be that this is the legendary pill refinement technique with closed eyes? The essence of the ice spirit grass was extracted by the setting moon flame, which formed ice crystals that shimmered within the pill cauldron. The outer shell of the round iron lotus was peeled off by the heavenly void flame, and a black lotus flower appeared. The white holy flame pushed the ice crystals toward the lotus flower to nurture it again. PFFF. Fanny couldn't help but throw up a large mouthful of blood. Even a pill sage might not be able to do this, let alone an elder of the pill tower. And Lin is too much of a show-off. I don't think I deserve to stand at such a high position. Tears streamed down Gray's face. Could this be some King Supreme rank pill refinement master who came here to tease a junior? In reality, it really didn't make much of a difference whether or not Lin was looking at the pill refinement furnace. Furthermore, the difficulty of using 7 flames at once was simply unimaginable. Her name would spread throughout the entire opposite shore realm, and she would become the leader of the younger generation of pill refinement masters. This was a scene that she had envisioned many times, but now, Julia, even the elders were astonished, let alone the spectators. Fanny, this was because the vermilion bird was the one controlling the pill refinement process. The vermilion bird was able to see the pill refinement furnace through his divine sense and guide the usage of the flames. That was enough. To be able to control 7 high-rank flames to such a fine degree. Just how powerful must one's control over flames be to be able to do this? The 4-armed ape elder took a deep breath before exclaiming in amazement. Chapter 846. All of the essences had been stripped away, and the medicinal powers of different fire elements had been injected into them before slowly fusing together. This was not a simple fusion process. Instead, it was a process where the different medicinal powers of different elements fused together before undergoing a transformation. This could be said to be the most difficult step in pill refinement. Even the slightest mistake could result in failure, resulting in the failure of the pill or the explosion of the pill. 7 types of flames revolved around the pill at the center like dragons. Extremely powerful pill energy fluctuations proliferated outward, and even before the pill had been formed, a rich pill aroma had already proliferated for over 3 kilometers, striking onlookers with a sense of intoxication. My God, is he really refining a spirit pill? One of the pill tower's elders widened his eyes in disbelief. This could be the most badass spirit pill in history. There's no guarantee that he'll be able to successfully refine such a powerful spirit pill. There's a very good chance that he'll fail. The flaming white elder speculated. The higher the quality of a pill, the more difficult it would be to materialize it. The difficulty of concocting an elixir that was refined with 7 types of divine fire or above at the same time was definitely not something an outsider could imagine. Boom! Another burst of violent pill energy fluctuations erupted. Su Xiaolan had successfully materialized her pill. A pure white spirit pill appeared before her, and holy flames materialized into the form of a vermilion bird that revolved around the spirit pill. Pure life force fluctuations rippled incessantly through the air. Fanny's eyes widened with shock as she spoke in a trembling voice. This, holy flames and pill energy fluctuations. This is a phenomenon at the pinnacle of a first-grade spirit pill. I've lost. I've already lost. She stumbled back a couple of steps in a daze as she shook her head relentlessly. Fanny had only refined an ordinary first-grade spirit pill, and anyone with a discerning eye could tell that it was inferior to the pill refined by Su Xiaolan. She could still be hopeful when Su Xiaolan and Enlin had yet to successfully materialize their pills. But what if they failed? Now, her final sliver of hope had finally been shattered. She had no chance of becoming the champion. In the elders' seating area, the 10 elders also exclaimed in admiration. Fanny was an exceptional pill refinement prodigy to begin with, but it's a pity that she encountered 2 freakish prodigies. She was born at the wrong time. If it was in the past, she wouldn't have ended up like this. Now, only Enlin and Su Xiaolan are fighting for the championship. I wonder who will be the final winner. At this moment, hundreds of thousands of spectators were also discussing this matter. Everyone was arguing endlessly about who would be the final champion. I support Su Xiaolan. She has already refined a peak grade, 1 spirit pill. It can be said that she has reached the peak of spirit pills. No matter how powerful Enlin was, he was still a peak rank, 1 martial artist. If the quality is the same, then the one who takes the shortest time will win. I think Enlin will win. Who said he refined a spirit pill at the pinnacle of the first grade? Did you forget that when he refined the elixir, he even jumped a level? A grade 1 spirit pill can become an immortal pill. Pig ghost next door, are you serious? Spirit pills and immortal pills were fundamentally different. So how could they improve? I'm afraid I'm not dreaming. I don't care. A godlike person who possesses 1 holy fire, 6 divine fires, and can also control them to refine pills at the same time. Only Enlin deserves the 9-spirit cauldron of 8 desolation. Everything depends on the result. Su Xiaolan refined a peak grade, 1 spirit pill first. This is already the limit of spirit pills. If the quality is the same, then the one who takes the shortest time wins. Therefore, the championship belongs to her, and the 9-spirit cauldron also belongs to her. The spectators were debating, and so were the Pill Tower elders on stage. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar sounded. Roar! The roar of a dragon sounded. 7 different flames formed a flaming dragon that soared into the sky. It was like a divine dragon that had ascended to heaven. Boundless flames poured down, illuminating the night sky of Pill City. Above Enlin's cauldron, a spirit pill that shone with 7 different lights appeared. The light was released by the 7 stars in the spirit pill. They were crimson like blood, purple like stars, azure like the moon, yellow like the sun, golden like a dragon, and holy like a sparrow. Every light and energy was so alluring, and the pill fragrance spread for 5,000 meters. Every living being that saw the pill involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of saliva. An intense desire arose in their hearts. This medicinal pill, they really wanted it. The 7-star meridian pill was refined from 49 different types of high-rank spirit herbs. It had the effect of unblocking meridians, purifying the body, and expanding the sea of vital energy. However, those who had seen Enlin refine this pill with their own eyes knew that this pill was different. The effects of this spirit pill were definitely not limited to this. Can this pill be considered a spirit pill? There was no such thing as a spirit pill becoming an immortal pill. This was something that had never happened in history. However, it was clear that Enlin's spirit pill was a little different. Thus, the Pill Tower elders began to be unsure. The flaming white elder sighed softly. Even though Su Xiaolan's spirit pill is also of the pinnacle, but I feel that Enlin's spirit pill is of a higher level. the Pill Tower elders were unsure of who to give first place to. The spectators were also debating among themselves. There were those who supported both Su Xiaolan and those who supported Enlin. Both of them had a pinnacle first-grade spirit pill. Su Xiaolan had the time advantage, while Enlin's spirit pill seemed to have transcended another level. It could be said that each of them had their own advantages. However, it was clear that everyone was leaning toward Enlin. Just as everyone was about to explode, a golden piece of paper descended from the sky. It had fallen from the peak of the Pill Tower. The debate on the Dao Plaza slowly quieted down. All the living beings seemed to have realized something, and their breathing became heavier. There was no need to guess to know that the Pill Sage was about to make his final decision. The Pill Tower elders were slightly taken aback as they received the golden piece of paper. There were only 3 words on it, and Lin wins. A beautiful smile blossomed on Mimi's face as she slowly descended onto the competition stage. Her body swayed like a blooming rose as she walked toward Lin. I hereby announce that the final winner of this year's New Talent Cup Pill Refinement Competition is Enlin, she said in a crisp and pleasant voice. At this moment, cheers resounded through the heavens. Hundreds of thousands of living beings applauded and cheered enthusiastically. They used their greatest passion and respect to shout Enlin's name. Enlin listened to the tsunami-like cheers and looked at the pairs of excited eyes not far away. He could not help but fall into a trance. Did he really rely on pill refinement to show off? At this moment, he was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence. He relied on his true strength to conquer every single spectator. Not only the spectators, but even the contestants were convinced. The elders were also full of praise for him. Mimi licked her alluring red lips and said in a seductive voice, "Enlin, congratulations, this is your reward." Her red lips parted slightly as she slowly approached Enlin. Her tongue was faintly discernible, and her unique body fragrance was enough to tempt others into committing a sin. Just as Enlin was about to slap her, Mimi took the initiative to step back. She blinked lightly, and a charming smile appeared on her face. Boom! An extremely beautiful and intricate pill refinement cauldron appeared on the competition stage. Countless people stared at the cauldron with scorching eyes. The reward for the champion, the 9-spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron. Even in the Pill Tower's Rising Star Cup, it was an extremely rare sight to see an immortal weapon given to the winner. Without a doubt, this was a great honor and reward. Clap, clap, clap. The elders led the applause. Congratulations to Enlin for winning the 9-spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron. Clatter, clatter. Another round of raucous applause erupted on the dojo. Even Gray stood up and clapped with excitement as he stared at Enlin with reverence on his face. Enlin looked at the pill refinement cauldron before him and picked it up before making his way over to the woman in the jade barley ink garment. On the competition platform, the two of them exchanged a smile under the attention of the crowd. Xiaolan, this 9-spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron is a gift from me. I hope you like it. Enlin smiled. Su Xiaolan pursed her lips into a smile, and her eyes seemed to contain boundless beauty. At least you have some conscience. I really like this gift, so I'll accept it. She put the 9-spirit 8 Desolation Cauldron into her storage ring as she spoke. The voices of the spectators gradually quieted down as their eyes widened. The elders were all dumbstruck. All of the competitors were breathing heavily, and they were on the verge of collapsing. During the competition, Enlin and Su Xiaolan didn't interact much with each other. Although they were both humans, they didn't think much of it either. However, the scene that unfolded before them made them realize something. It turned out that regardless of whether Su Xiaolan or Enlin won the competition, there was no difference. Su Xiaolan would win the immortal artifact. If that was the case, why the F***CK didn't they say so earlier? Didn't they know that their previous debate was stupid and meaningless? For some reason, all of the spectators were feeling a little bloated Gray, who had just crawled up from the ground, felt his legs give out from under him, and he fell to his knees again. He wailed in a loud voice, "Big Boss Enlin, why are you showing off again? Why do you have to show off so well just to receive an award? Chapter 847. It had to be said that Lin's showboating had countless spectators feeling like they were about to have a heart attack. They could accept that his spirit pill had been upgraded, and they could also accept that he had holy flames and many other divine flames at the same time. But why did he have to give them presents at the drop of a hat? What kind of bullshit asterisk tea was this? And the person he was giving them presents to was Su Xiaolan, the hot favorite to win the championship. Everyone's blood ran cold at the thought of this. They had been arguing over who was the champion and who was worthy of the 9-spirit cauldron, but in the end, they were AF asterisk King family. It didn't make AF asterisk King difference who won the championship. Everyone was shocked, including the high and mighty pill sage. Mimi had initially wanted to seduce Lin, but she was caught off guard and forced into a mouthful of dog food. Even she, who had a wealth of hosting experience, was momentarily dazed. However, she quickly came to her senses and smiled in order to liven up the atmosphere. Next, let Mimi interview the champion and hear his acceptance speech. Mimi made her way over to Lin with a hint of a smile on her face. Lin, shouldn't you introduce the woman beside you to me? Lin cleared his throat. Su Xiaolan and I are very good friends. That's right, the kind of friends you're thinking of. I participated in the competition with her for no other reason than to help her obtain the 9-spirit cauldron. Even though she could have obtained it herself, I felt that it would be more meaningful if I gave it to her myself. So, I won the championship. It's that simple. A faint blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Mimi's lips twitched. Hundreds of thousands of spectators felt like they had been forced into another mouthful of dog food. Gray continued to kneel on the ground. He could just show off when he won the award, but why did he have to show off during his acceptance speech? All of the other contestants felt like throwing up mouthfuls of blood upon hearing this, and some of them even felt like their Tao hearts were becoming unstable. So they were a couple here to bully others? Not only that, but he had also taken the first and second place, trampling all the other alchemy geniuses beneath his feet. This kind of operation was simply suffocating. Mimi felt that her position as host was being challenged. Many of the creatures on the stage were about to go berserk. She hurriedly said, then your relationship with Su Xiaolan is really good. I wonder how the two of you will develop in the future. Do you want to enter the Pill Tower to further your studies? Let's talk about that later. We still have some things to take care of right now, and Lin said tactfully. Rose was taken aback. Clearly, she had not expected such an answer, but she knew that now was not the time to ask. Using an impassioned tone, she once again opened her mouth. All right then, let us once again give a round of applause to this genius pill master, and Lin. Warm applause and cheers rang out again. Fortunately, the atmosphere was forcefully brought back. The Pill Tower Elder also walked towards the contestants and invited them to join the Pill Tower. And Lin and Su Xiaolan received a 6th grade Immortal Pill invitation. With this invitation, they could refine a 6th grade Immortal Pill at the Pill Tower for free. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, are you two really not going to join the Pill Tower? An elder asked with a disappointed expression. The Pill Tower was the holy land for all pill refinement masters on the continent. It was not mandatory for anyone to join, as pill refinement masters were usually the ones begging to join. However, Lin and Su Xiaolan's exceptional pill refinement talent was extremely tempting to the Pill Tower Elder, and they couldn't help but ask a few more questions. If there's an opportunity in the future, Xiaolan and I will definitely come to the Pill Tower again. I hope you won't look down on us then, and Lin replied humbly. They had flexed enough anyway, so it wasn't a bad idea to be a little more humble. No, the doors of the Pill Tower will always be open to the two of you. The Pill Tower Elder stroked his beard with a smile, and Lin silently swallowed a 2nd grade spirit pill to replenish his energy. Right now, he felt as if his entire body had been hollowed out, and his consciousness was extremely feeble. This was perhaps the price of flexing. Even if he swallowed a high-rank spirit pill, it would still take him a while to recover. At this moment, Dongfang Zhuangshi and the others also arrived. Dongfang Zhuangshi looked at Lin with a complex expression. Lin, I really didn't know that your pill refinement skills were this good. Didn't you say you were going to be a runner? Can your running companion get first place? You're cheating us. And Lin scratched his head in embarrassment. It was an accident. I knew it. My master is the best. He's the best in everything he does. Xiaozhe gave him a thumbs up with an envious expression. A thought suddenly occurred to Lin upon seeing Xiaozhe, and he smiled. Seeing as you're such a smooth talker, I'll give you a present. What present? Xiaozhe was a little confused. And Lin turned toward the day's golden figure in the distance and waved a hand. Hey, Fanny, come over here. Fanny's body trembled slightly upon hearing this voice, and she finally came to her senses. She tapped her foot lightly into the air and drifted over to Lin's side. She was in low spirits, and her eyes were completely lifeless. Her dazzling and high-spirited self was nowhere to be found. When Xiaoze saw the newcomer, he looked away, his heartbeat quickening. And Lin's eyes lit up upon seeing this. He knew that he was in the bag. Why did you call me here? Fanny's voice was ethereal. Have you forgotten? We still have a bet. And Lin smiled. Bet? Fanny blinked her golden eyes, as if she had finally come to a realization. Her body shuddered again as her expression became even more dejected and aggrieved. All right, I lost the bet. Tell me, what do you want me to do? And Lin nodded with a gratified expression. His disciple's wife had a good personality. She didn't resist in a fit of rage, and she was a person who kept her promises. Hearing this, the surrounding people were stunned again. All of the Pill Tower elders and competitors turned toward the two people at the center of the room. What? And Lin and Fanny had a bet? That was new and interesting. Gray rubbed his knees as he made his way toward Lin, but his footsteps faltered upon hearing this. Even Xiaozhe turned toward Lin with curiosity on his face. And Lin pointed to the handsome youth beside him. Let me introduce him to you. This is my disciple, Xiaozhe. He's at the pinnacle of the return to void intermediate stage, and he's a member of the primordial dragon tribe. He has the cultivation base, the power, and the money. Xiaozhe was a little embarrassed by the compliment, and he lowered his head. He wasn't like this in the past, but now he was extremely nervous and shy in front of that woman. However, he was still very happy that his master was praising him in front of a woman. Fanny blinked with a perplexed expression, and Lin then pointed to Fanny before turning to Xiaozhe. Fanny, Soul Formation Final Stage, Ghost Tribe, Soul Creation Stage Pill Refinement Prodigy. She has a good personality, and she's also very beautiful. Xiaozhe's expression faltered upon hearing this. He knew everything that Lin was talking about. Fanny was even more confused. Why was he suddenly bringing her up? Even though she was a little happy to be praised, what was his intention? Was he trying to flatter her? Should he compliment her back? And Lin then turned to Fanny. All right, that's all for the introductions. If you're willing to accept the bet, then you have to agree to do something that's within your power and doesn't violate any morals. Then, Fanny, you can date my disciple, Xiaozhe. You can date each other with the goal of becoming Tao partners. And Lin's voice reverberated throughout the entire competition platform. The lively atmosphere instantly fell silent to the point where even a pin drop could be heard. Fanny's intricate little mouth gaped open with a dumbstruck expression. On the platform, all of the competitors and Pill Tower elders were completely dumbstruck. Boom! Gray knelt to the ground again as tears flowed from his eyes. Boss and Lin, why are you still showing off even now? Do you still want to stand up? Xiaozhe felt as if he had been struck by lightning as Lin's words echoed incessantly in his mind. I'll give you a big present. Introduce each other. Date my disciple, Xiaozhe. So the big present that his master was talking about was to give him the woman of his dreams. His master had seen through his infatuation a long time ago, which was why he had gone to such great lengths to make this bet. His master had given up on his status as a running companion to become the champion. All of this was for him. Tears welled up in Xiaozhe's eyes. Master, thank you. Chapter 848. And Lin thought about it for a moment before deciding that he had to fight for his disciple's happiness. And Lin, all the spectators, boom! Besides, I lost the bet. So what if I give him a chance? I don't regret it. Fanny, please reconsider. The white flame figure urged. You. Fanny pointed a trembling finger at Lin with an aggrieved expression. How could you do this? How could you bully me like this? All of the Pill Tower elders finally exploded with rage. Even though things had developed in a very dramatic fashion, it seemed like both the male and female protagonists were extremely serious about this. Could this really be fate? The golden figure flicked a finger at Fanny's forehead. Silly girl, you're throwing yourself into this as well. Dominic slapped his forehead. Fate be damned. How did things get to this point? The golden figure's hands shattered the guardrail. Meanwhile, on the Dow Plaza's competition platform, the two of them stared at one another. Calm down. Don't be rash. Dominic, calm down first and see how things develop. If Fanny really, I'll kill them. And Lin, you can't. Fanny, a Pill Tower elder yelled. Dominic turned toward Xiao Zhe, and he could see that he was also extremely serious. The golden figure murmured to himself, as if he was trying his best to repress his emotions. Fanny's father was most likely Dominic, who was also known as the Pill Sage. He was very famous, and he was also a powerful figure in the opposite shore realm. Furthermore, he was very open-minded and progressive, and it could be said that he treated all of the tribes on the continent equally, so he had a very wide network of friends. This was the first time they had encountered someone who was looking for a partner for his disciple through a bet. You're proud, confident, beautiful, and powerful. Your every smile is like the most beautiful thing in this world. I think this is fate. I've dreamed for countless years, and the heavens have finally allowed you to appear before me. Can you become my friend? Impudent demonic dragon, how dare you covet the daughter of the Pill Sage? The Crimson Spider elder charged toward Xiao Zhe, only to be rooted to the spot by Dongfang Zhuangshi. Oh, what if I'm the one to object? A golden figure abruptly appeared between Fanny and Xiaoza. His figure was tall and proud, and his body was elegant and graceful. I'm Fanny's father, the golden figure replied. At this time, Lin stood out. He pointed at the group of Pill Tower elders and said loudly, They are a match made in heaven. How can you demons oppose them? Countless onlookers also looked at the woman in shock. Dominic's body trembled as he looked at his daughter in shock. In any case, Xiaoza was so touched that he couldn't control himself. However, the other living beings weren't the same. On Lin, Dominic saw a hint of determination and anticipation in the woman's eyes. As soon as Fanny finished speaking, Xiaoza's eyes flashed. Xiaoza stared at Fanny with sincerity in his eyes. But Fanny bit her lower lip. He's just a kid. A hint of immaturity appeared on the man's face. Fellow Taoist Fanny, I've actually already reached the age where I can mate. The reason why I became smaller in the past was so that I could be more compatible with Master. Dominic, father, I want to give it a try. And Lin turned toward the golden figure to find that he also had the appearance of a human with sword-like eyebrows and bright eyes. He was quite handsome, but his skin was also golden. As the daughter of the Pill Sage, no one has ever had the courage to say something like this to me. This answer once again struck countless people in the arena until they were crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. There was no helping it. The bet that Lin wanted Fanny to fulfill was simply far too shocking. Fanny, father, just give me and Fanny a chance. I'll do my best. Xiaoza spoke with sincerity in his eyes, and Lin was immediately displeased. What do you mean I'm bullying you? Where else can I find someone as exceptional as Xiaoza? Aside from me, who else is more exceptional than him? This man was way too terrifying, Fanny. Fanny pursed her lips and harumphed in a slightly haughty manner. Since you lost the bet, then I'll give you a chance. Xiaoza's powers are far beyond our reach. So, she wasn't disgusted? After that, Xiaoza seemed to have mustered up his courage as he stared at Fanny with his dark, spirited eyes. I'm not very good at expressing my emotions, but when I first laid eyes on you, I knew that you were the right person. Su Xiaolan couldn't help but massage her brows, and Lin's imagination and actions had once again refreshed her imagination. In all honesty, Was Lin really not afraid of being slapped to death by the pill sage? This was the first time that Fanny had said so many words in a row, and she stared directly at her father. On the top floor of the seven-colored glazed pagoda, the daughter of the pill sage is an exalted woman. She's not someone you can mess with. Some of the elders were extremely enraged. This was far too serious for them to bear. Fanny lowered her head in a rare display as she intertwined her fingers together. Fanny's breathing was a little unsteady, and she unconsciously intertwined her fingers together. She stole a glance at Xiaoza before averting her gaze. All of the elders flared up with rage. Lin, Dominic looked at Xiaoza before turning to Fanny. How can you tolerate such a shameless dragon tribe cultivator? He knows who I am, but he still stepped forward without any hesitation to express his feelings. From this, it can be seen that he has a scorching heart for me. A handsome man with intricate dragon horns, fair skin, and black eyes appear before Fanny. Think about it. If someone suddenly presented the lover of their dreams to you, wouldn't you be touched? He couldn't help but turn to look at the handsome man beside him, the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal sect, Lin. Father. Fanny pursed her lips with a dejected expression. I'm sorry, I failed to live up to your expectations. I didn't become the champion, and I made a bet and lost the bet. All of the spectators, including Lin and Su Xiaolan, convulsed as they grumbled internally. Xiaoza had King maxed out his love lines. Deathly silence ensued, and one could hear a pin drop. All the spectators drew a sharp intake of breath, and Lin glared at the uninvited guest. Who the hell do you think you are? Fanny finally spoke. Her voice was no longer filled with indignation and resentment. Instead, it was tinged with unease and a hint of indescribable curiosity. Why, you're telling the truth. The feelings you have toward me and everything you've done in the past are all real? Fanny blushed slightly. I think he's pretty brave. This was the first time someone of the opposite sex had publicly expressed their love to her. She couldn't describe what this was like, but her heart was beating a little faster. The man was looking at his beloved disciple with a gratified expression. There was encouragement and love in his eyes, as well as a hint of confidence and calmness. This was the first time someone of the opposite sex had expressed their love to her in public. She couldn't describe what this was like, but her heart was beating a little faster. From the look in her eyes, it looked like she was serious. What the F*** was this supposed to be? Crack. Bam. I'm a shut-in dragon who has been a shut-in for countless years, so I'm not very good with words. I once used the Golden Realm Essence crystals to create a dragon princess, according to my most perfect dream, and that dragon princess spent countless years with me. All of the spectators, to their surprise, Xiaoza spoke first before he had a chance to speak. He was like a bashful little girl who didn't know what to do. Until one day, I felt as if I had seen a living dragon princess. Fanny, aside from the fact that you don't have dragon horns, you're exactly the same as the dragon princess of my dreams. They wanted a master like this as well. And Lin was extremely gratified. His master had helped his disciple to this extent, and the disciple hadn't embarrassed his master. Instead, he was unleashing a frenzy of attacks on his target. This was the kind of love that would silently give him, only to suddenly give him a pleasant surprise. Xiaoza immediately pointed to the sky. I can swear to the heavens. Xiaoza was extremely touched. He could sense Lin's concern and love for him. Chapter 849. Dominic was an open-minded person, but he wasn't a casual person. This matter concerned his daughter's future happiness, so he couldn't overthink it no matter what. Dominic fell into a dilemma. This was a very difficult question. He was at a complete loss for what to do, but he still had to respect his daughter's decision, so he nodded with difficulty. Fanny, I won't interfere with Xiao Zhe's affairs, but you have to be decisive. Also, if you're being bullied, tell me boom. An extremely terrifying aura soared into the sky, and both Lin and Xiao Zhe were struck by a sense of suffocating pressure. This was the power of a Dao integration stage, super mighty figure. Tell me, and I'll make them regret living in this world. Dominic spoke in an indifferent voice, but the determination in his eyes made it impossible for anyone to doubt his words. Perhaps this was the only thing a father could do for his daughter's happiness. The celestial Arch had bragged to him not long ago about the little war god of the celestial court, Unlin, who was always able to surprise everyone. Even though he had a lot of secrets, he wasn't a bad person. On the contrary, he was very persistent and had a bottom line, and his disciple also seemed to be very obedient. This was why Dominic didn't choose to strike immediately. His daughter was going to fall in love sooner or later, so he would just let her be. Fanny and Xiao Zhe both faltered upon hearing this. Dominic had agreed, and Lin and Su Xiaolan were also quite surprised. It appeared that things were going to be easier than they had imagined. They had thought that they would have to spend a bit more time persuading him. However, what Lin and the others didn't expect was just how much of a struggle Dominic had put up during that period of time. Furthermore, the Celestial Arch had coincidentally assisted Lin and his team, which was also the most important factor that had allowed things to go so smoothly. Fanny, this is great. A blissful smile appeared on Xiao Zhe's handsome face. He couldn't repress his emotions any longer, and he rushed over to pick Fanny up. Splat! Xiao Zhe was slammed into the ground by Dominic's palm, and he didn't even have any chance to resist. Lin, you better know your place. Otherwise, I'll kill you right now. Dominic warned with a vicious glint in his eyes. Xiaoza crawled up from the ground with an embarrassed smile on his face. Okay, Dad. I don't have any relatives, so we'll be family from now on. The corner of Dominic's mouth twitched. Fanny chuckled with a hand over her mouth. For some reason, she didn't feel any disgust towards Xiaoza's shameless pursuit. Instead, she felt an indescribable sense of bliss in her heart. The Pill Saint actually agreed for his daughter to be with that dragon. An elder's eyes were dull as he pinched the arm of the four-armed ape beside him. Ouch! Why are you pinching me? The four-armed ape elder jumped up. I want to see if I'm dreaming, the elder replied. Four-armed ape exploded. Then pinch yourself, the elder replied. I'm afraid of pain. Four-armed ape. Just like that, Xiaoza and Fanny officially became friends. All of the living beings were in a daze. The bizarre developments had far exceeded their imaginations. Not only did Lin show off to them during the pill refinement competition, but now he even converted the Pill Saint's daughter from an enemy into a friend. Furthermore, she was his disciple's girlfriend. They wouldn't even dare to dream about something like this under normal circumstances. But Lin had managed to do it. They were sure that Lin's legendary feats would soon spread throughout the entire Pill City and even the opposite shore realm. No ghost would dare to underestimate this mysterious and powerful pill refinement master. The pill refinement competition drew to a close amid a fireworks display. Gray, who was kneeling on the ground, was forcibly lifted up by Julia. Julia felt like her cousin might have developed some sort of mental problem as he kept muttering nonsense like Big Boss and Lin is showing off so much. Please come and carry me. Sigh. This child is always spouting nonsense. He's most likely a cripple. He should be fine after a good beating. Julia glanced at the legendary man with a dejected expression before taking her cousin to recuperate. The recuperation scene was not suitable for children, so they had to find a secluded place to do it. Xiaoza stood beside Fanny with a shy expression as they chatted about some interesting cultivation stories. He was always able to encounter many interesting things whenever he was with Lin, and the young woman would often burst into laughter. Dongfang Zhuangshi's opinion of Lin changed from admiration to admiration for the first time upon seeing this, and he couldn't help but praise. Lin's maneuvering skills are far superior to mine. Su Xiaolan stood beside Lin and asked in a low voice, How did you know that Xiaoza was interested in Fanny? I immediately thought of the Golden Realm Essence crystals as soon as Fanny appeared, so I naturally turned to look at Xiaoza. However, I discovered that Xiaoza was staring at Fanny as if he had lost his soul. It was love at first sight. That's not all. Later on, when I was concocting pills and putting on a show, Xiaoza was still looking at Fanny. I can't take this lying down. I'm so handsome and so badass. Why would Xiaoza look at her? Lin was unconvinced. Su Xiaolan, this is indeed the power of love. Among the 90 or so participants, 80 of them were planning to join the Pill Tower. Unfortunately, the two most dazzling contestants didn't join the Pill Tower, which was quite a pity. Furthermore, the third-ranked Fanny had been abducted by them. Her heart had been abducted. After a brief interaction with Xiaoza, Dominic discovered to his sorrow that his daughter really did seem to have developed a crush on Xiaoza. What the F***CK? Xiaoza, so you're a member of the 4-9 Immortal Sect. So this Enlin is the same Enlin as the sect leader of the 4-9 Immortal Sect? Sorry about that. But our naming style is different from yours, so it's very easy to get confused. Come to the 4-9 Immortal Sect to play? Sure. I want to go to the Kingdom of the 9 States too. Dominic. Why did his daughter seem to have been abducted a little too quickly? Dominic looked up into the sky. His heart felt so heavy. Meanwhile, in a certain space in the opposite shore realm, a blue bat flew through the sky, and its black and white eyes surveyed the entire area within a radius of over 500 kilometers. No disguise or concealment could escape its eyes. Beside it stood a red turtle, which was holding a silver divination in its hand. Your Majesty, the 3 immortal beasts at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage have already sealed off the border of the opposite shore realm with the Infernal Realm seal, but it has expended a lot of energy, so we only have less than 5 days left, the red turtle reported. Beside the red tortoise was the Divine Bat Emperor, who ruled over an entire realm. That's enough. Where's our next stop? The Divine Bat Emperor asked. Air. The divination indicates that there's a very good chance that they're going to Pill City to participate in the pill refinement competition. The red turtle replied with a hesitant expression. The Divine Bat Emperor was silent for a moment before asking, Did you not rest well? The red turtle. I don't really believe it myself, but the divination indicates that they're going to participate in the pill refinement competition instead of fleeing for their lives. Are they afraid that no one will know where they are? Even a fool wouldn't do something like that, right? The Divine Bat Emperor was getting impatient. We're in a hurry, so let's not waste time on useless things. A hesitant expression appeared on the red turtle's face. Then should we choose our next stop? The Divine Bat Emperor was silent for a moment before making a voice transmission talisman. Soon, a voice sounded from within. Divine Bat Emperor, how did you find me? Pill Sage, I need your help. I'll send you a few auras, and you can use your divine sense to see if they're in Pill City. No problem. Moments later, the Pill Sage looked at Enlin, Xiao Zhe, and the others before falling into deep thought. What a coincidence. He was just trying to figure out how to get rid of these people who were trying to kidnap his daughter. Who would have thought that an opportunity would come so quickly? Was the heavens helping him? Dominic looked at the group of people before him, and a joyful smile appeared on his face as he sensed the auras from the voice transmission talisman. Chapter 850. Divine Bat Emperor, you really are my lucky star. Dominic was just about to admit that Enlin and the others were there when he heard his daughter's bell-like laughter. He couldn't help but look at her. Fanny had a very happy smile on her face, and it was as if all of her grief and disappointment from her failed pill refinement had been swept away. She had lost the glory of being the champion, but she had gained something else important. You really know how to deceive a little girl. Receive your retribution. Dominic gritted his teeth, but he was still smiling at his daughter. His heart ached, but at the same time, he felt happy and gratified. It was a very strange feeling. Hey, Pill Saint, are they in Pill City or not? Pill Saint? Hurry up and reply. Dominic finally lost his patience and said, No, scram. Divine Bat Emperor, the alchemy sage had a strange temper and was not to be trifled with. This was something that many super almighties knew. The Divine Bat Emperor didn't find this strange. As for the Pill Sage's denial, it believed him. After all, as a dignified Pill Saint, there was no reason for him to protect a group of unrelated people. Let's go to the next place. The Divine Bat Emperor spread open its massive blue wings and changed directions. Its massive body whistled through the opposite shore realm as it continued to pursue Enlin and the others. Just like that, an invisible threat was neutralized by Fanny's smile. Dominic looked at Fanny, who was smiling brightly and also smiled. It had to be said that Fanny was very beautiful when she smiled. And Lin appraised Fanny with an appreciative look in his eyes. He also felt that this woman was impeccably beautiful. Even though Fanny was a ghost, she still had the appearance of a human. The only difference was that she was a little more dazzling and golden, which gave her a peculiar sense of beauty. Xiaoza liked this kind of thing, so it was a good match. Racial segregation was actually not a problem in the eyes of some almighty beings. Take Su Xiaolan, for example. Her mother was a human almighty, but her father was a dragon. That was why she had the bloodline of the true dragon and the divine phoenix. Of course, he also had the vermilion Burr bloodline now. And Lin thought that if he and Su Xiaolan had a child in the future, would the child also have a quarter of the dragon clan's bloodline? Long Bao Bao. It was exciting just thinking about it. Just as Enlin was fantasizing about the future, the Pill Sage walked over to greet him. Sect leader Enlin, it's an honor to meet you. Dominic smiled. Enlin gulped. He had made a bet with the daughter of a Tao integration stage, super mighty being, and his disciple. Who knew if the Pill Sage would hold a grudge against him for this? Pill Sage will be in-laws from now on. There's no need to be so polite. Just call me by my name, and Lin said tactfully. Dominic's face convulsed slightly. Xiaoze must have learned his shamelessness from Enlin, right? Don't try to get close to me. Who knows, my daughter might dump your disciple tomorrow. Dominic said with a dark expression. Enlin, on the other hand, was cheerful. He had an expression that said, my disciple got you to buy his vegetables, so he can just leave after doing so. In any case, it's not a loss. Dominic was enraged upon seeing this, and he wanted to call the Divine Bat Emperor over his voice transmission talisman and ask it to come and capture him. Tell me the truth. What happened between you and the Divine Bat Emperor? Those beasts have concealed their auras, but they can't hide from my divine sense, Dominic said. And Lin was silent for a long while before replying, it wasn't that big of a deal. I just fought with one of its subordinates. Dominic chuckled coldly. He, the Divine Bat Emperor, chased you all the way to the opposite shore realm after a fight? It just contacted me to ask me about your whereabouts. And Lin, thank you, in-laws. And Lin said gratefully. He knew that the Pill Sage had already taken care of this matter. Otherwise, the Pill Sage wouldn't have come here to mention this to him, so he was genuinely grateful. Dominic continued to chuckle coldly. You say we're in-laws, but you're hiding something like this from me? I have to be responsible for my daughter's safety, so you better be honest with me. And Lin's eyes lit up. You admit that you're in-laws. Dominic took a deep breath. Was that the point? But it looked like he really did say something wrong. Damn it. Should he just kill him to silence him? In-laws, I'll be honest with you. I entered the vast land of Blood Mystic Realm, and after I came out, I got into a conflict with a Nightmare Mudman and the others, and we fought, and Lin explained. You're still calling me in-laws? Dominic repressed the urge to fly into a rage. And then? I know about the Nightmare Mudman. It's a return to void, final stage mighty figure. And then we killed the Nightmare Mudman M. We also accidentally killed the Flaming Falcon and the Dark Dragon Ape. After that, the Divine Bat Emperor seemed to be very angry and chased after us. And Lin explained. Dominic took a deep breath. You really dare to fight them. He had killed 3 return to void stage mighty figures in quick succession, one of which was a return to void final stage mighty figure. This was a major event across the entire continent. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. But the reason the Divine Bat Emperor chased after us was probably because of that middle-aged man. And gluttony, right? He turned to Dongfang Zhuangshi as he spoke. Dongfang Zhuangshi didn't evade Dominic's gaze. Instead, he looked back at him with an extremely calm expression. I'll be honest with you, in-laws. This does indeed have something to do with that middle-aged man. Hence, we urgently need to refine a few pills to escape from the opposite shore realm. And Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. Dominic nodded in response. For some reason, after hearing the term in-laws a few times, he wasn't as disgusted by it as before. Could it be that he was used to it? This Enlin sure had a lot of tricks up his sleeves. Dominic waved a hand in support of Enlin's decision to enter the pill tower to search for ingredients. However, He had one condition, and that was to convince Fanny not to follow them. They could discuss this after they returned to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Xiaozhe didn't want Fanny to follow them, so he agreed to Dominic's condition. Soon, they had gathered all the ingredients. With the protection of the Pill Sage's in-laws, they decided to refine the pills in the Pill Tower. This was Dongfang Zhuangshi's exclusive recipe, a third-grade spirit pill. However, the effect of the pill was extremely astonishing, and it could conceal one's aura for an entire day. Enlin had the Divine Poison Frog do some experiments, and he discovered that after the Divine Poison Frog ran more than 15 kilometers away, not only was Dongfang Zhuangshi unable to detect its location, but even the Pill Sage was unable to detect its aura. This was amazing. Even the Pill Sage was shocked by the effects of the pill. However, what was even more surprising to Enlin and the others, the Divine Poison Frog really did disappear. That's right, the Divine Poison Frog disappeared from everyone's field of vision with the help of that terrifying pill power, and it never returned. Enlin looked into the boundless night sky and sighed with emotion as he recalled the words that the frog had once said. Following them was indeed not a good choice. The Divine Bat Emperor's target was Enlin and the others, so it could be said that the Divine Poison Frog's departure was the wisest decision. It would allow them to completely escape from the Divine Bat Emperor's pursuit, because the Divine Bat Emperor wouldn't chase after a frog unless it was an idiot. A traveling frog has finally gone on a journey. Enlin shook his head and bade farewell to this friend he had met by chance. Chapter 851. The Divine Poison Frog's abrupt departure left Ao Neo feeling quite sad for a long while. Moo, why did such a good frog leave? Ao Neo's voice was filled with sorrow and regret. Enlin's expression darkened. Why do you make it sound like the frog just died? Tears welled up in Ao Neo's eyes. I treated it as a friend. It's so smart, so intelligent. Why would it make such a choice? It's afraid that it'll be in mortal danger if it follows me. Enlin replied with a nonchalant expression. Ao Neo, I'll give you a choice now. You can choose to leave us, and I won't say anything. Ao Neo shook its head without hesitation. No, the sinister spirit bee cesspool doesn't have a place for me anymore. I'd rather stay with you guys than go somewhere else. You're so powerful, and I feel like I'll have a bright future if I follow you. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this before a smile appeared on his face. You sure have a good eye. Ao Neo wasn't a very complicated person, but it had a very simple yet stubborn outlook on certain things, which was quite surprising. Everyone stayed at the Pill Tower for a day. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, Xiaozhe, the Jade Bone Immortal Bug, Dongfang Zhuangshi, Gluttony, and Ao Neo were all given 3 aura-concealing spirit pills that Dongfang Zhuangshi had specially made for them. Enlin and Su Xiaolan also exchanged their immortal pill coupons for immortal pills. Enlin exchanged for a heavenly soul pill, which was a 6th-grade immortal pill that could elevate one's consciousness to the pinnacle for a short period of time. The pill refinement masters of the opposite shore realm were very well versed in the subject of consciousness, and they had a vast array of spiritual-type immortal pills. Enlin had chosen this immortal pill out of so many different types, as he wanted to see what it would be like if his consciousness were to be elevated to the pinnacle. Of course, this immortal pill could only be used at a critical juncture. I'm going now, Fanny. I'll contact you when I get back to the 4-9 Immortal sect. Xiaozhe placed an inky black dragon scale in Fanny's hand before waving goodbye. All right, I'll be waiting for your news. A vibrant smile blossomed on Fanny's face as she spun around in midair before waving a slender hand through the air, upon which countless streaks of golden light fell from the night sky like rain. This was the unique farewell ceremony of their race, and it looked very beautiful. A man and a woman passionately in love really knew how to play. Enlin and the others swallowed a concealment spirit pill before flying toward the Kingdom of the 9 States. The Kingdom of the 9 States was located in the southeastern direction of the opposite shore realm, while Pill City was located in the western direction of the opposite shore realm. Thus, it was still quite a long journey, and they had to be wary of the Divine Bat Emperor. Although the Pill Sage was a little worried about the safety of Enlin and the others, there was nothing he could do. Dao integration stage mighty figures were naturally more sensitive to one another. Thus, the Pill Sage's presence would attract the Divine Bat Emperor's attention even more. If the Divine Bat was happy and came over to greet him, he would be exposed. This wasn't to say that the Pill Sage was afraid of the Divine Bat Emperor. However, if they really did encounter it, then many things would become very troublesome. In fact, it could even cause a huge commotion in Pill City. Enlin was also quite embarrassed. He had already conquered the Pill Saint's daughter. Could it be that he had to drag the Pill Saint down with him? Thus, they decided to travel to the Kingdom of the 9 States on their own. A black dragon over 10,000 feet in length flew through the sky, sweeping up gusts of gale force winds. Enlin and the others sat on the dragon's head and looked down at the strange and dazzling scenes that flashed before their eyes. As they approached the central region from the west, a certain type of nomological suppression began to appear. Everyone could sense a certain aura of decay. It was ancient, distant, and deathly. Layers upon layers of elements permeated the air. Enlin, Xiaoze, and the others all felt like their powers were being suppressed. Beings with exuberant vitality would have their powers suppressed. However, Dongfang, Zhuangshi, and Gluttony felt extremely refreshed. The closer one was to death, the more their powers would be amplified. Ah, I like this smell. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. Su Xiaolan wanted to say something, but she hesitated. Enlin couldn't help but ask, Uncle Dongfang, are you sure you're okay? You look like you're about to die. I've already died a few times, so what's the big deal? Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. Gluttony chimed in. To put it more accurately, Master's current situation is not really a living being. Instead, he's hovering between life and death. Enlin was speechless. This place was a paradise for the dead. However, Fanny, who could naturally absorb the power of death, was different. Many living beings didn't have this ability, and they had to actively cultivate Yin-type cultivation methods in order to survive here. Hey, look down there. There's so many zombies. Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise. Enlin looked down to discover that 2 waves of zombies with no signs of life were crashing into one another. There were hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides. The zombies tore at one another's bodies in an extremely frenzied battle. Some of the monsters had even had their heads eaten off, but they were still able to move, tearing their enemies' bodies to shreds with their sharp claws. It looked like the 2 armies were engaged in a massive battle, but there were actually only 2 living beings participating in the battle. These were 2 soul formation stage necromancers. They stood at the very back of the 2 armies, unleashing long-range attacks while controlling the zombies to attack. Where did they find all these corpses? Enlin furrowed his brows. He didn't like the idea of the living using the dead as weapons. The jade bone immortal butterfly flew on Enlin's shoulder and explained, the opposite shore realm is a renowned paradise for the dead. Living beings on the brink of death will be able to live longer in the opposite shore realm due to their increased power. Due to this, the opposite shore realm has become an exceptional graveyard, attracting many living beings on the brink of death to come here. Enlin, so this was a natural graveyard? Dying beings could come here to live longer. It had to be said, this was a very attractive condition. At least, it was very attractive to those who were afraid of death. This was one of the most detestable places on the continent. At the very least, it wasn't suitable for living beings on the brink of death. They loved the opposite shore realm. Enlin and the others took a glance at the battle down below before flying back to the Kingdom of the 9 States. Xiaoze and the others concealed their auras, and the 2 necromancers on the ground didn't even detect a gargantuan figure flying over them. However, they were given a fright by the sudden burst of gale force winds, and they thought that their opponent had unleashed a wind-type spell technique. In reality, that was only the wind that Xiaoze had stirred up. Thus, everyone flew peacefully for a while. After a day, they arrived at the southeastern region of the opposite shore realm, where the temperature began to drop. The holy glacial lands were located in the east, while the southeastern region was a region that extended directly into the kingdom of the 9 states. Lin and the others became extremely nervous as they focused their attention. They didn't even need to guess to know that the Divine Bat Emperor had definitely set up some sort of trap at the border of the opposite shore realm. Boom, boom, boom. Violent energy fluctuations erupted from the eastern region. Dongfang Zhuangshi's brows furrowed slightly. There seems to be a battle going on over there. It's none of our business. Let's get out of here. Lin didn't want to cause trouble. Boom! An extremely frosty blue streak of light sliced through the earth like a divine sword, slicing the earth within a radius of over 50 kilometers in half. Even a city down below was sliced in half and sealed in ice. Gasp! Lin and the others' pupils contracted at the same time. Both sides were extremely powerful. Quick, let's go. Head straight south. Lin urged in a panicked voice. They couldn't allow anything to go wrong with their escape plan at a time like this. Xiaozhe was also well aware of this, and he began to fly toward the south. The battle was taking place in the east, so they should be able to escape from the south, right? Boom, boom, boom. Two extremely terrifying waves of energy collided violently in the south, and heaven and earth began to cave in as the aura of the divine Tao enshrouded the heavens. Lin, let's go west. Chapter 852. However, just as they were about to head west, a powerful spatial seal completely sealed off an area within a radius of several hundred kilometers. Rumble, boundless power of the divine Tao enshrouded heaven and earth. Countless evil ghosts appeared in the air before devouring all living beings in their path. Kukuku, Mengji, don't even think about getting away. I'm going to kill you today. A twisted, black, round body of flesh revealed a pair of bloodthirsty, crimson eyes as a series of black tentacles imbued with the power of the engulfment divine Tao pierced through space before grabbing toward a white figure at an extremely terrifying speed. The white figure flashed through the air, and the black tentacles had only just made contact with the white figure before its body shattered like a snowflake. In the next instant, the white figure appeared elsewhere. No matter how you dodge, you won't be able to escape from me. I'm going to exhaust you to death sooner or later. A triumphant smile appeared on the black body of flesh, and its power of the divine Tao surged forth before crashing toward the white figure. Xiaozhe and the others silently made their way to the edge of the spatial seal. We really got caught in the crossfire. We didn't even want to be spectators. So how do we get caught up in the battle? Gluttony grumbled with displeasure. A faint smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she looked at Lin. Perhaps a certain someone possesses a powerful ability to attract enemies? Thankfully, they don't seem to have discovered us. It's all thanks to the powerful effects of the spirit pill. And Lin couldn't find any words to refute this. Both sides are at the return to Void Pinnacle stage, but I'm quite surprised that the Ghost Tribe possesses a spatial sealing divine tool, Dongfang Zhuangshi said with a surprised expression. Everyone's expression shifted upon hearing this. Divine tool. That was a weapon that even some Tao integration stage mighty figures didn't possess, but this return to Void Pinnacle stage mighty figure also had one. Divine tools were extremely powerful, and mighty figures at the return to Void Pinnacle stage could even battle weaker Tao integration stage super mighty figures for a short period of time. It was exactly because of this that the High Priestess of the Snow Maidens, Mengji, was being suppressed by the Ghost Tribe. Who would have thought that there would be other pay-to-win players aside from me? And Lin said with a solemn expression, Uncle Dongfang, do you have the confidence to break this spatial seal? Su Xiaolan asked worriedly. A grave expression appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. That's not necessarily the case. However, if I make a move, those two will definitely detect it. How about we stay here and wait for the battle to end? And Lin suggested. Dongfang Zhuangshi, are you sure you want to be such a coward? And Lin thought for a moment before replying. Plan A is to break out of the seal. That way, we'll either be able to escape successfully or be forced into battle. That way, we'll definitely be exposed. Plan B is to hide in a corner. We'll either be discovered or we'll successfully conceal ourselves until the end of the battle. Even if we're discovered, we can still execute Plan A and try to break the seal by force. So, you know what to choose, right? Hearing this, everyone felt that it made sense, and they quietly hid themselves. Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed another concealment spell technique to prevent them from being discovered by the ghostly beings wreaking havoc in the air. He then hid behind a huge rock and observed the battle in the distance. Boom, boom, boom. Terrifying energy blasts transformed the area within a radius of several dozen kilometers into a purgatory. Mengji wielded her golden staff and dodged the ghostly beings' attacks, but she was unable to find an opportunity to retaliate. It looked like she wouldn't be able to last much longer. Outside of the spatial seal, about 1,000 kilometers to the east, the battle there was even more terrifying. It appeared to be a battle between Dao integration stage super mighty figures. The Great Empress seemed to be the only Dao integration stage super mighty figure among the Snow Maidens. So it looked like the Snow Maidens were going all out in this battle. And Lin couldn't help but recall the battle at the Vermilion Bird sect not long ago. Why are the Snow Maidens so restless? It's only been a short while, and they're already engaged in an all-out battle. Furthermore, it's an all-out battle between top-tier bosses. Do they really like to fight that much? Only they would dare to make enemies out of all of us, and Lin muttered to himself. It's best if they all die. A frosty expression appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. She was clearly quite resentful toward the Snow Maidens. And Lin stroked his chin. I heard that the Snow Maiden's home was bombed. Could that have something to do with that? Master, are you saying that the Snow Maidens are fighting because they're moving? Xiao Zhe was astonished, and Lin corrected him. No, they're invading. He really didn't have a good impression of the troublemaking Snow Maidens. There were many beautiful big sisters, but he really didn't like them. I wonder if Sister Shangwan is here. It'd be great if we could take her back, Su Xiaolan suddenly said. And Lin looked around the battlefield to find that there were only two places with the most violent energy fluctuations. One was here, and the other was where the Great Empress was. There was also a place that was barely discernible, but it was probably too far away for him to detect. Ha ha! How about you give in to me, little beauty? I'll treat you well, and we can have spiritual intercourse that you've never experienced before. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure chortled with glee. Gasp! And Lin drew a sharp intake of breath. What is this spiritual intercourse that it's talking about? I feel like I'm getting the wrong idea. A blush appeared on Su Xiaolan's face. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. You're not getting the wrong idea. It's the kind of spiritual intercourse that you're imagining. The Ghost Tribe has a type of soul copulation technique that's very stimulating, but also very dangerous. If you go too far, both of your souls will be severely wounded. Su Xiaolan and Lin's eyes widened. You tried it before, uncle? Dongfang Zhuangshi chuckled. I have. It's really exhilarating. Do you want to come? I can teach this technique to you and Xiaolan. And Lin, Su Xiaolan. I refuse. And Lin was a little disappointed upon hearing this. I also refuse. This is a deviant technique, and a good man like me can't be bothered to come into contact with it. Mengji's white robe fluttered in the wind, and she wore a cold expression on her face. She didn't insult or provoke the Ghost Tribe mighty figure in the slightest as she continued to evade its attacks. One side was engaged in an earth-shattering battle. The other side was having a lively conversation while eating melons. Dongfang Zhuangshi seemed to be very interested in this topic. It's okay if you don't like it. You guys know that my name is Blood Kirin, and I know an even more stimulating method of copulation. What method of copulation? And Lin's eyes widened with curiosity. Blood copulation. Do you want to know more about it? Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes glowed with excitement. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, I feel like you should consider the feelings of a girl when discussing this topic. The Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly. I second that. Chapter 853. The two female listeners objected vehemently, and Dongfang Zhuangshi could only change the subject. Divine technique, eternal death, God. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure roared with rage as a dark light burst forth from the black bone divine tool in its hand. Heaven and earth began to tremor as the power of the divine Tao materialized into a black skeleton over 10,000 feet tall and wielding a crimson scythe. The skeleton's robe was constructed from inky black, ghostly material, and it chanted the demonic voice of hell as it slashed its blade toward the flashing white figure in the distance. Crack! Heaven and earth seemed to have been sliced in half as a series of cracks appeared. Mengji's body had also been severed at the waist, and her body had been dislocated. Bam! Her body exploded into a shower of white snowflakes. Her body then materialized somewhere in the air again. Mengji's expression was still as cold as ever, but blue blood was flowing from the corners of her lips. Kukuku, stop struggling. The eternal death god can lock onto your consciousness and attack it. No matter how you try to evade or resist, it will be able to strike your consciousness every time it strikes. The ghost tribe mighty figure chuckled with elation as the divine tool in its hand flashed again. The black skeleton's scythe fell again. Meng Ji gritted her teeth, and her body transformed into a streak of white light as she charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. She was clearly planning to fight to the death. Let's get ready to sneak out of here. We'll run as soon as the seal is lifted. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes narrowed slightly. A blue divine light burst forth from Meng Ji's golden staff, which combined with her fearless body to form a sharp blade that could slice through heaven and earth before stabbing toward the ghost tribe mighty figure behind the black skeleton. The black skeleton's scythe fell, slicing through Meng Ji's power of the divine Tao, as well as her body at the same time. Bam! A familiar scene ensued as Meng Ji's body exploded again. In the next instant, Meng Ji's body appeared before the black skeleton, and she threw up another mouthful of blood. She had clearly been severely wounded, but her pure golden eyes had become extremely sharp. She continued to charge forward with an unstoppable force, and the blue divine Tao blade pierced through the black skeleton's body before heading directly toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. A panicked expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as it blasted forth a wave of white, deathly energy, which materialized into a thick wall before it. Rumble! The blue divine Tao blade struck the white wall of deathly energy, upon which an extremely terrifying shockwave erupted. The power of extreme frost instantly froze the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers. Lin and the others, who were at the edge of the spatial seal, felt a bone-piercing chill. At the center of the collision, the low temperature even froze the death chi shield. Break! A clear and indifferent voice rang out. The shield of death energy exploded, and the blue blade pierced through the body of the ghost race's supreme being. Lin's eyes widened. Meng Ji was able to kill a divine tool wielding mighty figure. Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head. No, it's Meng Ji who's about to die. Sure enough, although the ghost clan's supreme being was trembling, a sinister smile appeared on his face. The power of the extreme frost divine Tao spread more and more slowly around the ghost tribe mighty figure's wound before finally coming to a standstill. Is that all? The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes flashed as he breathed, and his black, decaying hands grabbed onto the blue divine Tao blade projection before squeezing viciously. Bang! The peerlessly sharp power was crushed by the ghost tribe mighty figure's bare hands, and Meng Ji hurtled back in retreat as blood gushed from her mouth. At the same time, the black skeleton's scythe fell again. The crimson scythe sliced through heaven and earth with a dazzling red light, as if it existed in this world, but also as if it had transcended to another dimension. Crack! Meng Ji's body was sliced in half again. Bam! Her body exploded again. Lin stared at the scenes unfolding before his eyes with a speechless expression. Is there an end to this? How many lives does she have? Dongfang Zhuangshi wore a knowledgeable expression. This is the Snow Maiden's Lotus Snow transformation technique, which allows her to transfer the damage she has sustained to the Lotus Snow while she chooses to escape. As long as one has enough power, they can evade this spell technique countless times without sustaining any injuries. It's a pity that the death god summoned by the ghost tribe's divine tool possesses a portion of the power of loss. As long as it unleashes its scythe, it will be able to destroy its enemy's consciousness. The High Priestess is unable to completely transfer the death god's power, so she can take 3 more hits at most. 3 hits? Everyone finally perked up upon hearing this, as they stared nervously at Meng Ji in the distance. In any case, the fall of the mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle stage was still quite a sight to behold. Lin and the others paid their respects to him. There was nothing wrong with reminiscing about him. Meng Ji continued to retreat as her golden staff hovered in front of her. Her hands transformed into a series of afterimages as she made a series of hand seals. Blue divine Tao veined patterns appeared beneath her feet like a formation. Boom! A terrifying frosty aura soared into the heavens and shook the heavens. Meng Ji's aura continued to climb explosively, and she managed to transcend beyond the return to void stage in a short time. Ice divine burial. An ethereal voice sounded from her mouth as the projection of a blue goddess appeared in the air. A blue and white ball of divine Tao energy converged in her hand. Meng Ji knew that she had no way out, so she was going to unleash a powerful attack. Ha ha! You're already at the end of your tether, so there's no point in struggling. The Ghost Tribe Monarch's body expanded to several times its original size as it unleashed a mystic technique to elevate its power explosively. Divine technique, gaze of the death god. It raised its black bone-like divine tool high into the air. Boundless black divine Tao light erupted from the bone before enshrouding heaven and earth. The black skeleton projection expanded explosively once again as its body took on a substantial form. Its crimson eyes were like crimson vortexes that sucked in all things between heaven and earth. My gaze of the death god technique can engulf all spell techniques. It will automatically look toward the enemy with the most powerful consciousness and drag their consciousness into a boundless abyss. You won't be able to escape. Let me use this attack to completely end your life. The Ghost Tribe Monarch cackled as it pointed its divine tool at Meng Ji and unleashed its final attack. Meng Ji also pointed her golden staff toward the Ghost Tribe Monarch. Go, freeze the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's life force. The ice god she had summoned waved a sleeve, and the blue and white ball of divine Tao energy in its hand shot forth like a bolt of lightning toward the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Gaze of the death god, engulf. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure was brimming with confidence as the divine tool in its hand unleashed an unfathomable power again. The black skeleton projection suddenly tilted its head toward a certain direction as the crimson vortexes in its eyes quickly rotated. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Meng Ji! Boom! Just as the Ghost Tribe mighty figure was completely dumbstruck, the black skeleton projection unleashed a powerful technique toward the air. With it, as the epicenter, everything within a radius of over 50 kilometers was engulfed, regardless of whether it was plants or mountains. All of the living beings' consciousnesses were instantly torn apart. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure's eyes widened with incredulity. The gaze of the death god technique would only be used against the enemy with the most powerful consciousness aside from itself. Why was the death god staring at the air? That was impossible. Right at that instant, the truth was revealed. A middle-aged man struggled with all his might, but his body was drawn toward the death god's eyes relentlessly. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure, no, it roared with despair. Boom! Meng Ji's attack exploded in front of the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. The terrifying power of the ice divine Tao froze the death god and engulfed the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's body. Chapter 854. Boom! Blue frosty energy exploded, transforming heaven and earth into a frigid hell. Everything was engulfed by Meng Ji's power of the divine Tao. Lin and the others hid behind the chaotic alloy brick in order to withstand the shockwaves from the explosion. All of them fell into a peculiar silence as they looked on at the explosion in the distance. Are we being forced into a group battle? Lin finally couldn't help but ask. I heard that the gaze of the death god is targeted at the person with the most powerful consciousness. Senior Dongfang sure is impressive to be able to stand out among so many mighty figures. The jade-bone immortal butterfly exclaimed. And Lin's expression darkened. Is that the point? What's there to be happy about? Don't forget what we're supposed to do. What? Isn't that the point? Are you looking down on my master? Gluttony bared its teeth. And Lin, was Gluttony's brain really functioning normally? Su Xiaolan. Let's observe a moment of silence for Uncle Dongfang. Aonyo also heaved a forlorn sigh. Moo, I had thought that Plan B wouldn't work, so we still had Plan A to go with it. Who would have thought that the most powerful being would be dragged into the battlefield, and Plan A would also be ruined? And Lin massaged his brows. Uncle Dongfang probably helped Meng Ji a little. First, he withstood the gaze of the death god with his body. Then he was struck by Meng Ji's most powerful technique. Will he be all right? Gluttony bared its teeth again. What? Are you looking down on my master? And Lin's chest constricted, and he glared at Gluttony with rage. I'm worried about your master. Do you understand? Gluttony pursed its lips. You're worried about a wolf being bullied by a pair of sheep? Isn't that looking down on him? And Lin was speechless. Su Xiaolan chuckled. If your master is Big Wolf, and those two sheep are Pleasant Goat and Pretty Goat, then you really do need to be worried about him. Gluttony. And Lin gave her a thumbs up. Brilliant. Well said, Xiaolan. Gluttony was still completely dumbstruck, just as they continued to act as onlookers and talk trash. Meng Ji's glacial energy slowly dissipated, and everything within a radius of 50 kilometers was transformed into a world of ice and snow. And Lin and the others stopped chatting and silently looked towards the center of the battle. This was a battle between mighty figures at the Return to Void pinnacle stage, so it wasn't appropriate for them to intervene. As such, they could only watch from the sidelines. If they weren't strong enough, they wouldn't be a burden. They still had this bit of pretentiousness. Theoretically speaking, Dongfang Zhuangshi was quite far away from the Death God's gaze and Ice God Heaven's burial, so the damage he received should have been significantly reduced. Meanwhile, the Ghost Tribe mighty figure had been struck by the Ice God Heaven's burial, so the damage it had sustained was completely different. Cough, cough. Meng Ji slowly descended to the ground, and she couldn't help but throw up another mouthful of blood. The injury she had just sustained, as well as the after-effects of overexerting her secret technique, were beginning to manifest. 1,000 meters away from her, a sinister-looking black body was frozen into a block of ice. This was the body of the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. It was quite clear that its ultimate technique had been completely nullified, and Meng Ji was the final victor. Meng Ji no longer looked at the Ghost Tribe mighty figure. Instead, she turned her attention toward the direction of her savior. A huge block of ice exploded with a resounding boom. Dongfang Zhuangshi walked out from the block of ice in a rather disheveled manner. He glanced at the frozen Ghost Tribe mighty figure, then at Meng Ji, who was breathing heavily, and a polite yet awkward smile appeared on his face. You guys can continue. I'm just a passerby. He waved a hand and was about to leave. Meng Ji opened her mouth, but she didn't say anything. She suddenly felt like it wasn't a bad idea to let him leave. A series of coincidental events had made her who she was now. Seeing as that man didn't care and didn't want to get involved in this battle, then she could just chalk it up to fate. Dongfang Zhuangshi took a couple of steps before his footsteps suddenly faltered, and he turned to look at the black bone in the Ghost Tribe mighty figure's hand. That was a divine tool. In any case, stealing the divine tool didn't seem like a bad idea, did it? However, before he had a chance to do anything, the block of ice began to tremor and crack before exploding with a resounding boom. Boom! The Ghost Tribe mighty figure roared as it broke through the ice, and the power of the dark divine Tao exploded outward, reducing everything it came into contact with to dust. Dongfang Zhuangshi narrowed his eyes. Looks like things aren't going to be easy to resolve. The Ghost Tribe is very adept at exploiting the laws of heaven and earth here. The closer a being is to death, the more powerful their power will be. Due to this, they can cultivate unique cultivation methods to maximize their power. For example, the severely wounded Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure is even more powerful than before. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure glared at Dongfang Zhuangshi with a resentful expression. "You're the one who nullified my gaze of the death god. Who the hell are you?" Dongfang Zhuangshi put on a harmless expression. "I was just passing by and accidentally stumbled upon your battle. Let me go, and I promise I won't interfere in your battle." The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's expression shifted slightly. This middle-aged man appeared to be quite powerful, and it didn't want to make too many enemies if possible. "All right, then you." It was just about to say something when a familiar feeling suddenly welled up in its heart. "Wait, this aura." The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure looked at Dongfang Zhuangshi with surprise in its eyes. "You're the person the Divine Bat Emperor is looking for." Its eyes widened with astonishment. Dongfang Zhuangshi. Never would the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure have thought that its most powerful attack would strike the mighty figure the Divine Bat Emperor was looking for. It immediately pulled out its voice transmission talisman. Right at this moment, Dongfang Zhuangshi's crimson eyes flashed, and the space around him suddenly twisted. Bam! The voice transmission talisman in the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's hand suddenly exploded. Dongfang Zhuangshi massaged his brows with a vexed expression. "I knew it. The Divine Bat Emperor would definitely seek help from a mighty figure from the opposite shore realm. My identity has been exposed again. Sigh, demonic blood Kirin, it really is you." The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure pulled out a plate-like communication talisman before enshrouding its entire body with the power of the divine Tao to form a protective barrier. Dongfang Zhuangshi's crimson eyes flashed again, and the twisted space tore apart even the protective barrier before tearing apart the plate-like talisman. Bam! The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's plate exploded. "Sigh, why can't you recognize the difference between us? Congratulations. You've made yourself another powerful enemy." Dongfang Zhuangshi shook his head in resignation. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure, Dongfang Zhuangshi, turned to Meng Ji with a warm smile. "Beautiful Cultivator, would you be willing to fight alongside me to kill the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure?" Meng Ji nodded with an exquisitely beautiful smile on her face. "I'd love to. The enemy of my enemy is my friend." Thus, Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji formed a united front and became comrades in arms. Chapter 855. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure felt like fate was playing a prank on it. This was clearly a situation where it had the upper hand. So how did it end up in a dire situation? He couldn't accept this. He was so close to killing that Snow Maiden. The consciousness of a cultivator at the return to Void Pinnacle stage must be delicious. How could it miss out on such an opportunity? The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure turned to look at the middle-aged man in the distance. Even though the middle-aged man's spell technique was quite peculiar and difficult to defend against, it didn't actually deal much damage. Furthermore, from the middle-aged man's aura, it appeared to be quite unstable, and it wasn't very powerful either. To put in simpler terms, it could win. "If you want to die, then I'll help the Divine Bat Tribe get rid of you." The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure let loose a strange cry as it tossed the bone into the air, upon which black energy surged forth. "Oh, you didn't choose to run away?" Dongfang Zhuangshi turned to the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure with a hint of surprise on his face. Over 50 kilometers away, Lin and Su Xiaolan were silently observing the battle through spell techniques. "Sigh, how did things turn out like this?" Lin heaved a forlorn sigh. "How could Uncle team up with the Snow Maidens? None of the Snow Maidens are good people." Su Xiaolan was still very upset that Meng Ji had been saved, except for Sister Shangwan. Lin blinked. "Xiaolan, do you hate the Snow Maidens that much?" "Oi, the Snow Maidens invaded the Vermilion Bird Sect and almost killed you. I want nothing more than to capture all of them. Speaking of which, how can you be so calm? You're making me even angrier than you are." Su Xiaolan glowered at Lin. Lin was speechless, but for some reason, he was feeling quite elated. Whoosh! The sound of something tearing through the air erupted. Meng Ji had sprung into action. She wasn't going to give the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure any time to prepare its spell technique. A dazzling divine light erupted from the golden staff, which transformed into a series of sharp blades that pierced through the air before piercing through the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's defensive barrier. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure unleashed a mystic technique in conjunction with the laws of heaven and earth, and its power began to increase explosively. Meng Ji's attacks were unable to penetrate its defenses. Come on out. With the bone as the heart and the blood as the body, I summoned the true death god. It abruptly sliced open its own body, and inky black blood gushed into the sky before fusing together with the bone. The blood adhered to the bones and squirmed, and an extremely terrifying aura began to brew. Blood energy erupted from Dongfang Zhuangshi's body upon seeing this, and the surrounding area within a radius of 5 kilometers transformed into a surging sea of blood that crashed toward the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure. You want to create a fake life in front of me? The corners of his lips curled up as he stomped on the sea of blood. An extremely complicated red formation appeared. The center of the spell formation was right beneath the feet of the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure. At the same time, the red clouds in the sky surged, faintly resonating with the formation on the ground. Dongfang Zhuangshi made a series of hand seals, and his aura soared into the heavens. Return to the dead, heaven and earth massacre. Rumble. The formation on the ground revolved crazily, dark red energy enveloping the world. The Ghost Mighty Figure raised its head to discover an unimaginably gargantuan crimson Kirin staring down at it. The terrifying, vast aura made it difficult for it to breathe. The crimson Kirin extended its sharp claws, which were brimming with killing intent, and tore through the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's divine, Dao defenses amid a sharp screech, before plunging its claws into the writhing pool of blood that contained the god of death. No! The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure frantically tried to defend itself. It was also at this moment that a bright blue blade pierced through space and punctured its body. When the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure decided to allocate more of its power to the god of death, it was unable to defend itself against Meng Ji's attack. Meng Ji's white hair danced in the wind as she abruptly twisted her wrist, upon which an unparalleled frosty power erupted from her blade before eroding the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's body in a frenzy. The Crimson Kirin was like a primordial beast with the sun and moon above its head and stars beneath its feet. Its sharp claws plunged into the god of death's writhing pool of blood, upon which terrifying power poured forth. Depravity, death, and killing intent descended into the abyss. Rip! The Crimson Kirin tore through the black pool of blood and quickly stripped away the life force within it. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure let loose an enraged roar as the pool of blood transformed into lifeless liquid that fell to the ground, creating a rain of blood. How could this be? My divine ability was broken again? The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure stared at the black bone hovering in the sky with incredulity on its face. The Kirin was still trying to extend its claws toward the black bone. However, the black divine light emanating from the bone materialized into a skeletal hand, which swatted the Kirin aside. Oh, the divine tool's consciousness seems to be even more powerful than that Ghost Tribe bastard's. Dongfang Zhuangshi exclaimed in surprise. The Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure. Did he have to be so heart-wrenching? Was this middle-aged man sent by the heavens to attack it? A crisp sound erupted as a blue blade of ice tore through the air, slicing the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's body in half. A boundless blade projection swept forth, slicing through the earth for over 50 kilometers. The Kirin disappeared into thin air. The spell technique unleashed by Dongfang Zhuangshi also dissipated, and a hint of paleness appeared on his face. Using too much power was a bit too much for him in his current state of consciousness. After returning, he had to hug Lin again in order to recover the energy he had expended. He looked up at the divine tool in the sky, contemplating how to capture it. Right at this moment, a sobbing voice suddenly sounded. Why are you forcing me? Why are you forcing me to take you down with me? This was the Ghost Tribe Mighty Figure's voice. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's expressions shifted at the same time as they turned to look at the body that had been sliced in half. The eyes of the black ball of flesh that had been sliced in half and sealed in ice by Meng Ji began to glow with a sinister red light. Finally, cracks began to appear on its face. Countless crimson fists imbued with the power of destruction fell from the sky toward the block of ice. Boom, boom, boom. The area within a radius of over a kilometer was reduced into a bottomless crater. Dongfang Zhuangshi had landed the killing blow. "You think you can kill me just like that?" A sinister voice swept forth from within the crater. Black energy emanated from the bottom of the crater, forming a sinister ghost over 10,000 feet tall. The terrifying power of the divine Tao erupted forth at an insane rate. The ghost tribe mighty figure flew into the air and gripped onto the divine tool with a crazed expression. "Come on, let's take each other down with us." The inky black ghost over 10,000 feet tall suddenly unleashed energy fluctuations that made even Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's hearts tremble as it roared and pounced toward them. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's expressions shifted drastically. Was it finally going to fight with its life on the line? Almighty figures at the return to Void Pinnacle stage were extremely fearsome when fighting with their lives on the line. They unleashed powerful spell techniques to keep the ghost at bay without any hesitation. However, when the spell techniques struck the ghost's body, it exploded like a balloon. The entire area within a radius of over 50 kilometers was transformed into a vast expanse of murky black mist. Not only could it obstruct vision, but it could also prevent divine sense detection. Meng Ji faltered slightly upon seeing this. However, Dongfang Zhuangshi immediately came to a realization. "Crap, it's trying to escape." That's right. Mighty figures at the return to Void Pinnacle stage all cherish their lives very much. Why would they try to take each other down with them? A black shadow leaped out from the murky black mist and fled into the distance. "Cuckoo, I've already marked your bodies. You're all going to die when I get out of here. Ghost Emperor Pajun and the Divine Bat Emperor are nearby. I'll contact them, and when the two Tao integration stage super mighty figures attack you at the same time, how are you going to survive?" The ghost tribe mighty figure chortled with glee as it withdrew its spatial seal. However, right at this moment, it suddenly caught sight of what appeared to be a dragon up ahead. Boom! Inky black lightning flashed and arrived in an instant. Chapter 856. The ghost tribe mighty figure was unable to evade the sudden bolt of black lightning, and it only managed to raise its arms in front of its body before the bolt of lightning fell. Boom, boom, boom. The ghost tribe mighty figure was blasted back by the terrifying power of the lightning, which continued to wreak havoc on its body. There's another enemy? A black dragon at the pinnacle of the return to Void intermediate stage? It swept its divine sense through the air, upon which its expression shifted. How could this be? How could a black dragon of this cultivation base unleash such terrifying lightning techniques? Just as it was speaking, Xiaozhe unleashed over 100 bolts of lightning toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. These bolts of lightning were originally quite powerful, but they weren't powerful enough to strike fear into the ghost tribe mighty figure's heart. However, they suddenly became extremely terrifying as they pierced through space. Damn it! The ghost tribe mighty figure had no choice but to use its power to evade the bolts of lightning. The ghost tribe was most fearful of Yang-type spell techniques, and lightning was imbued with Yang-type power, so it was not an exaggeration to say that it was the bane of Yang-type spell techniques. Just as it was evading the Black Dragon's attacks, Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji had already charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure and unleashed spatial sealing techniques at the same time. Meng Ji's expression was no longer as cold and indifferent as before, as a hint of astonishment and surprise appeared on her face at the sight of the man standing on the dragon's head. How could it be him? Why did they encounter him here? Lin. Meng Ji was getting a little nervous for some reason. She felt like she couldn't forget that man. The reason why she had failed with the Holy Vermilion Flame was because she had deduced many things, and all of her deductions pointed toward Enlin. The palace leaders of the holy palaces had most likely perished by Enlin's hands as well. It wasn't some other mighty figure who had interfered. It was Enlin who had killed them. One had to realize that Qing Li was a return to void final stage mighty figure. To be able to kill her without even giving her a chance to escape. Just how powerful was the person who did it? At this moment, Enlin was standing on the head of a powerful dragon tribe mighty figure, facing off against a mighty figure at the return to void pinnacle stage without any fear. This further confirmed her suspicions. Enlin was pretending to be weak. Long time no see, High Priest. Enlin also extended a slight greeting with a faint smile. Not long ago, he had been a newbie who had almost been killed by Meng Ji with a single attack. But now, he had the confidence to face the High Priestess head-on. Meng Ji glanced at the calm and collected man, and she was even more certain that Enlin was pretending to be a pig to prey on a tiger. Otherwise, how could a soul formation late-stage cultivator have the guts to stand in front of her and speak like this? The ghost tribe mighty figure immediately unleashed countless sinister ghosts upon seeing this, all of which converged toward Enlin's group and Meng Ji. Everyone's expression changed, and they immediately unleashed spells to attack the evil spirits. Don't let it get away. We have to reinforce the spatial seal. Dongfang Zhuangshi yelled. Meng Ji gritted her teeth and unleashed her power of the extreme frost divine Tao, which enshrouded the space within a radius of several dozen kilometers. All living beings that approached the barrier would be slowed down and frozen, and some would even be frozen to death. Dongfang Zhuangshi also completely unleashed his surging blood power to seal the space within a crimson cage. Just when the two of them thought that the ghost tribe mighty figure was trying to escape, a terrifying streak of black light pierced through the air toward Enlin and the others. Crap! Dongfang Zhuangshi immediately came to his senses and charged toward the black light. The ghost tribe mighty figure was not trying to break out of the encirclement. Instead, it was trying to capture Enlin and the others as hostages. This was indeed the best course of action. After all, if they failed to break out of the encirclement, they would most likely be killed by him and Meng Ji. However, if they could capture Enlin and the others, they would be able to keep them at bay. Kukuku, a return to void intermediate stage dragon tribe cultivator, and a few soul formation stage brats dare to stand in my way. Die. The ghost tribe mighty figure cackled as it flew through the air at an extremely fast speed, giving Enlin and the others almost no time to react. However, all of a sudden, its stomach swelled up. Bam! It didn't have a butt, but its back suddenly exploded like a waterfall. The ghost tribe mighty figure felt like something was about to erupt, and at the same time, boundless grief welled up in its heart. Wah! What did you do to me? Wah! The dark sorcery party ghost began to wail and howl with anguish. Two extremely terrifying bolts of lightning answered its call. The bolts of lightning struck its body and blasted it flying again. Meng Ji's expression shifted again. As expected, this Enlin was extremely peculiar and not an ordinary cultivator. Enlin was extremely disappointed. He had planned to give Meng Ji a taste of his make-you-poop and make-you-cry spell techniques. After all, a goddess-like mighty figure bursting into tears on the spot was extremely thrilling, and he really wanted to give it a try. Wah! Go! Capture them! The ghost tribe mighty figure waved its hands through the air, and countless ghosts pounced toward Enlin and the others. The pitch-black, powerful evil spirits were densely packed and covered the entire sky, turning the heaven and earth into a terrifying ghost domain. Like a tidal wave, they swept towards the crowd from all directions. This kind of power is enough to capture return to void intermediate stage mighty figures. A black light burst forth from the divine tool in the ghost tribe mighty figure's hands, and the power of the ghost became even more terrifying. Its body seemed to have materialized, and its sharp claws sliced through the air, causing the space around it to wail and wail. Ow! Terrifying lightning erupted from Xiao Zhe's body before crashing toward the ghosts, each bolt of which was able to kill several ghosts on the spot. However, there was no end to the ghosts, and they were still advancing toward Enlin and the others. The Jade Bone Immortal Butterfly, the Peerless Saber Demon, and gluttony also joined the defense. The immortal butterfly's poisonous mist burst forth to melt the ghosts around them. The peerless saber demon unleashed a relentless single strike of the ocean and second strike of the ocean. Gluttony opened its cavernous mouth and swallowed several hundred ghosts before its eyes rolled over into the back of its head, and it almost died from overeating on Xiao Zhe's back. The ghost tribe mighty figure blocked Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji with all its might. Almost there, just a little bit more. Right at this moment, Enlin and Su Xiaolan held hands. Heaven and earth instantly fell silent. Boom! A terrifying explosion instantly engulfed all the ghosts between heaven and earth. A crimson sun appeared between heaven and earth. Crimson phoenix flames imbued with the power of annihilation and slaughter proliferated outward, and all the inky black ghosts were reduced to ashes by the terrifying power of the flames. The ghost tribe mighty figure's pupils contracted, and its mouth gaped open. Two soul formation stage cultivators holding hands could cause an explosion. The crimson explosion incinerated all the ghosts it had summoned into nothingness, and even its body was forced into retreat by the shockwaves of the explosion. It was also at this moment that a silver figure broke through the flames. It spread open its hands, and a purple halo of light suddenly proliferated outward, enshrouding the ghost tribe mighty figure's body as an extremely powerful gravitational force crushed down upon it. You think you can restrain me with just this? You're delusional. The ghost tribe mighty figure roared as it tried to struggle free. Blue snowflakes danced between heaven and earth at this moment, and the power of the extreme frost divine, Dao, descended upon the ghost tribe mighty figure, causing its body to falter slightly. Mengji finally sprang into action again. Boom! Another silver Gundam flashed toward the ghost tribe mighty figure. The ghost tribe mighty figure had no time to evade, and at this moment, a pink particle sword slashed down. Whoosh! The particle sword was peerlessly sharp, and it sliced the ghost tribe mighty figure's body in half. It was so powerful that even the space behind it was sliced in half. The ghost tribe mighty figure howled with anguish. Never would it have thought that it would be retaliated against by a group of people like this. In the next instant, Enlin appeared before it with a faint smile on his face. The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes widened. A soul formation stage cultivator dared to close in on it? Was he insane? Chapter 857. The evil dragon's target this time was still Enlin. Oh! The ghost tribe mighty figure roared relentlessly with a crazed expression. The ghost tribe mighty figure's eyes widened in shock. The ghost tribe mighty figure issued a command, and the terrifying blue evil dragon in the sky roared before pouncing toward Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji with devastating power. A faint smile appeared on his face as he looked at the ghost tribe mighty figure, which had already been surrounded. Frost and ice enshrouded the ghost tribe mighty figure again before freezing the space around it. It was also at this moment that the yellow ring on its finger began to tremor again, as if it had been stimulated by something. A pair of gargantuan golden eyes opened within the chaos again. Get back here! The ghost tribe mighty figure roared as it unleashed more tentacles toward Enlin. Go and kill them. This is a summoned dragon. As a vengeful mighty figure, it was naturally going to kill the easiest enemy to kill first in order to intimidate the others. This was the 1,000 possibility box, which could unleash all kinds of spell techniques at random. They chose to evade without any hesitation. It immediately realized that it had been tricked by that strange spell technique. Boom! Ha ha ha! The ghost tribe mighty figure's life force was extremely feeble, but it chortled with glee. You didn't expect this, did you? This divine tool of mine is called the chaotic evil dragon bone, and it is constructed from the heart bone of a chaotic evil dragon. It is imbued with the terrifying power of an evil dragon. Splat! It panted heavily as inky black blood flowed from its body. Its massive body was riddled with wounds, and even though the wounds were quickly healing, its life force was still being drained away. The blue evil dragon's body was like a surging ocean as it roared at Enlin. A crimson saber fell from the sky and sliced through all of the tentacles. The evil dragon was extremely fast, and just its movement alone caused the space around it to compress and twist. In Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's eyes, it was as if the evil dragon had brought with it an entire ocean of boundless power that was completely unstoppable. Die! A sinister smile suddenly appeared on its face as its inky black body squirmed, and one of its tentacles shot forth toward Enlin at an extremely terrifying speed. Enlin was stunned. Damn it! Why is it her again? What's the use of another slap of love? Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji combined their powers again, and the Ghost Tribe mighty figure was in a perilous situation. It no longer had a chance to attack Enlin. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji's expressions instantly became extremely grave. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure's body squirmed violently, clearly having a mental breakdown. Meng Ji, is that the point? This dragon's strength is not simple. Even if the two of us work together, we might not be its match. In the distance, Enlin's fingertips emitted clouds of black gas as he smiled faintly. In that instant, the ghost mighty figure felt as if it had lost something. So what if I don't have the power to communicate with the undead? I can even nourish spirits with my body. Let us walk towards eternal death together. Even though the Ghost Tribe mighty figure had been severely wounded several times and was on the brink of death, its power had become even more fearsome. Two mighty figures at the return to Void Pinnacle stage besieging a single mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle stage might not be a guaranteed victory. On the contrary, the one being besieged might even take one of them down with him. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji were not going to let go of such a good opportunity, and they immediately unleashed all types of terrifying spell techniques in pursuit. The black box in Enlin's hand was also activated at this moment. Enlin felt a terrifying shockwave erupt, upon which the circular blue barrier was blasted into the distance as if it had been blasted by a bomb. Roar! Boom! Little B Astra starred. You're the one behind my power, right? I'm going to kill you now. The voice was imbued with a paramount dragon might, as if it were the voice of an ancient supreme being. It exploded? Why did it explode? No. Meng Ji shot a discreet glance at Enlin, who was spectating from afar. Bam! It looked like the 1,000 possibility box was quite adaptable. It knew that Enlin was going to escape, so it had prepared something like this. Ha! It's too late. Ow! A blue heavenly dragon leaped out of the inky light, twisting its ocean-like body as it circled in the sky. I'm going to take you down with me. Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji were not going to give it any face, and they attacked it with even greater ferocity. Why don't you take me down with you? A series of earth-shattering spell techniques erupted, and the Ghost Tribe mighty figure was forced into retreat. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyes widened, and his body shuddered with shock. Shouldn't the trump card of the Ghost Tribe be summoning some evil ghost mighty figure? What's the point of summoning a dragon? She positioned herself in front of Enlin, and she suddenly put her hands together before quickly separating them, upon which a circular blue barrier instantly enshrouded the two of them. Gundam 3 and Yao Ji also joined the battle. Even though they were still quite a ways off from mighty figures at the return to Void Pinnacle stage, they had no issues coordinating their attacks with Meng Ji and Dongfang Zhuangshi. Enlin heaved a long sigh of relief as he looked at the box in his hand. Why did it explode? Idiot, that's because I have the power to communicate with dead spirits. Brilliant light erupted, and a holy and beautiful celestial maiden in a white dress appeared again. Her power was boundless, and even the sound of her breathing was able to sweep up waves of vital energy within a radius of over 50 kilometers. However, to his surprise, the celestial maiden in a white dress didn't raise her hand to slap him. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure cackled with a sinister smile as it stabbed the divine tool bone into its own body. The Ghost Tribe mighty figure's tentacles exploded again, and its inky black ball-like body squirmed as it materialized a pair of hands again. One of its hands unleashed a divine Dao shield to defend itself, while the other gripped the divine tool bone tightly in its hand. A sinister smile appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as it cackled cruelly. This was evident from the fact that it had summoned the eternal death with its divine tool. The energy fluctuations emanating from this eternal death were on a completely different level compared to the ones it had summoned before. Unlin had robbed it of its most important power when it unleashed the divine plunder technique. The ghost tribe mighty figure was no longer able to use any undead summoning spell techniques now. The black tentacles had only just come into contact with the circular blue barrier when it felt as if a bomb had been detonated. Phew! All of you must die. A sinister expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face as the divine tool in its hand glowed with a scintillating light, and the power of the dark divine Tao surged forth. Come forth, eternal death. It can command all evil and filthy powers. However, its most terrifying usage is to use its life essence as a raw material, and its chaotic evil dragon bone as the core to summon the projection of a chaotic evil dragon. The celestial maiden in the distance disappeared, and the blue barrier began to shatter. Divine plunder technique activated. Another resounding boom erupted, and the powerful eternal death suddenly let loose a wail of anguish before exploding. However, the evil dragon's momentum did not falter in the slightest, and it had no intention of pursuing them. Why don't I even have the power to communicate with dead spirits? A horrified expression appeared on the ghost tribe mighty figure's face. Boom! And Lin was struck by an extremely potent sense of impending death for the first time, and his entire body trembled uncontrollably. Dongfang Zhuangshi's Kirin Blood Claw attack and Meng Ji's Extreme Frost Seal were both broken in quick succession. It was quite clear that the ghost tribe mighty figure had given up on escaping this time. It had chosen to fight to the death. The golden eye symbol on Enlin's forehead appeared, and golden ripples proliferated outward. That's right, it could now confirm that the power to communicate with dead spirits had been snatched away by that human cultivator. The ghost tribe mighty figure faltered slightly upon seeing this. It had clearly grabbed him with its bare hands, so how did he manage to swat him away like a ball? Both of them faltered upon seeing this before Dongfang Zhuangshi yelled at Enlin, "Look out!" An inky black light imbued with boundless power soared into the sky, causing cracks to appear on the spatial seal formation that Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji had set up. The ghost tribe mighty figure was just about to capture a hostage to use as a bargaining chip to escape when Enlin delivered himself to its doorstep. How could it pass up on such a good opportunity? Blue energy exploded forth. One had to realize that it was his Yao Ji that had sliced the ghost tribe mighty figure in half. A black skeletal figure with billions of ghostly beings revolving around its body and an extremely terrifying aura wielding a crimson scythe appeared in the air again. "You forced me to do this. You forced me to do this." Inky black blood splattered through the air before being drawn back by a peculiar power before adhering to the black skeleton. Chapter 858. Within Enlin's consciousness, a vast and powerful will descended upon this world. In that instant, the sky completely dimmed. An unimaginably huge black dragon that seemed to be able to cover the sky appeared in the void. It opened its eyes that were like the sun. Countless stars appeared beneath its body, and it was as if it were the ruler of all stars. Just by appearing in this world, it was able to force all things to submit to it. That's right, in that instant, it was the ruler of heaven and earth. The blue evil dragon's body faltered, and it began to tremble involuntarily. The ocean was extremely vast, but it was far too minuscule compared to the black dragon that could destroy stars with a single stomp. Boundless ferocious might enshrouded the entire world as the sovereigns will descended, as if it could destroy heaven and earth with a single thought. Even Dongfang Zhuangshi and Meng Ji couldn't help but tremble in the face of this ferocious might. The ghost tribe mighty figure's face was deathly pale, and its mouth gaped open as it stared blankly at the scenes unfolding before its eyes. "It's here. Master's true body has finally appeared." Xiao Zhe's teeth chattered as he stared up at the projection in the sky with excitement and anxiety. Back on the island in the ancient Tai Chu realm, It had been completely won over by its master's mighty body, and it had worshipped its master ever since. "So it's you who's trying to intimidate me?" The black dragon projection's words resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth, striking fear into the hearts of onlookers. The blue evil dragon trembled uncontrollably as it shook its head frantically. "Senior, it's not me. It's him. He's forcing me to do this." The evil dragon pointed a claw at the ghost tribe mighty figure as it yelled. "Enlin, Dongfang Zhunger, Meng the ghost tribe mighty figure. F***CK off. You dare to insult me?" The black dragon's expression darkened. Bam! The ghost tribe mighty figure's body suddenly exploded, and a massive hole appeared on its body. The ghost tribe mighty figure howled with pain. Everyone was amused. This ghost race powerhouse was probably the first to be betrayed by his own weapon, right? And Lin suddenly felt like his Tsundra little Xie was a pretty good person. At the very least, she wouldn't backstab him. Just as he was feeling melancholy, the storage ring in his hand flashed, and a terrifying suction force suddenly appeared. Like a vortex, the suction force completely sucked away all the energy in his body. "Holy sh**t. He screamed in his heart. His legs went soft, and he almost knelt down, but he still looked strong on the outside. And Lin looked at the black dragon and quickly figured out the ins and outs of the matter. Could it be that the black dragon needed to extract the energy within his body to attack? No wonder he had been acting tough all this while and hadn't made a move. So this was a reason. Come to think of it, would this fellow jump out and slap the face of a Dragon Clan mighty figure if he yelled at him? Xiaoza was like this, and the blue evil dragon in front of him was also like this. This setting was quite interesting. The black dragon did not disappear. Instead, it turned its attention back to the blue evil dragon. "The heart bone in your body is not bad. It can be used as the bones of my physical body." Black Dragon's voice was filled with satisfaction and desire. The blue evil dragon's body shuddered again, and it immediately turned tail and fled. So what if it was a divine tool? Divine tools also had a desire to live. The black dragon silently opened its cavernous mouth, and the space around it twisted as an indescribable power fell from the sky, instantly enshrouding the blue evil dragon's body. "No, please spare me, Senior." The blue evil dragon roared for mercy, but the black dragon's expression remained indifferent. And Lin's legs gave out from under him, and he collapsed to the ground as he also roared for mercy in his heart. "Holy F***CK, please spare me." The terrifying suction force appeared again, as if it was trying to suck his entire body dry. That's right, the black dragon was sucking away his energy again. Most importantly, and Lin's body had already been sucked dry. It was still sucking away his energy. It was going to make him wish he were dead. He felt as if his sea of vital energy had dried up. His powerful body of the war god was shriveling up. The power of his consciousness, which was one of the most powerful return to void stage mighty figures in the world, was also being rapidly depleted as excruciating pain swept through his entire body. However, the black dragon did not stop. The blue evil dragon's ocean-like body was instantly transported to a place invisible to the naked eye by the distorted space. Not bad. The black dragon slowly closed its eyes, and its body began to dissipate. Everyone felt the pressure weighing down on them instantly disappear, and they suddenly felt as if the world was so beautiful. And Lin lay limply on the ground, and he was on the brink of death. He suddenly felt as if the world was so cruel. "And Lin, are you all right?" Su Xiaolan let loose a cry of surprise as she rushed over to hug Lin. Xiao Zhe's expression also shifted, and he immediately rushed over to protect Lin. "Master, did you suffer a backlash from forcefully using your power just then?" "It's all right. I'll protect you with my life, and I won't let you come to any harm even if I have to give up my life." Xiao's imagination instantly filled in the gaps of the cause and effect of the entire incident, making a perfect explanation for his conjecture. Meng Ji turned to Lin with a hint of bewilderment in her eyes. All of this was really his doing? So he was a dragon tribe, super mighty figure in disguise? In this way, all sorts of illogical phenomena could be explained. Could it only project projections due to some kind of restriction? Just that alone was enough to crush any return to void stage mighty figure. Such a terrifying being. Their tribe could not afford to mess with them. Mengji immediately made a decision. Even if she couldn't turn hostility into friendship, she would at least try not to mess with such a being. Ah, my evil dragon chaotic bone. Give me back my evil dragon chaotic bone. The ghost tribe mighty figure finally lost all of its rationality, and it roared as it pounced toward Enlin. Its body had sustained many devastating wounds, and its life force was about to reach its end. Now that its divine tool had been stolen, its biggest trump card was gone, and it no longer had any hope of breaking through the spatial seal set up by Dongfang Zhuangshi and Mengji. Its heart was filled with despair, and it could only fight to the death. Humph. You still want to attack Enlin? A cold harumph sounded. Dongfang Zhuangshi charged toward the ghost tribe mighty figure before materializing a crimson Kirin claw. Boom! The ghost tribe mighty figure was flattened, and its body was flattened into the crater. Ice God Seal. Mengji wielded her golden staff as she strode toward Enlin. Wind and snow howled as the space around her began to crackle and crackle. She pointed her staff into the air, and a halo imbued with the power of the extreme frost divine, Tao, enshrouded the ghost tribe mighty figure's body. Everything within the halo froze in place. The ghost tribe mighty figure's crazed expression and struggling body were also completely immobilized. Mengji's features were deathly pale, but she forced a vibrant smile onto her face. She turned to look at Enlin, and a faint smile appeared on her face. Mr. Enlin, the ghost tribe mighty figure has been sealed, so this is all I can do. Enlin, this high priestess, why is she suddenly telling me this? Why is she being so polite? Chapter 859. What Enlin didn't think was that Mengji had already thought of him as a powerful mighty figure. What Mengji was implying was, I've already taken care of the enemies, so I won't disturb you any longer. Can I take my leave? Su Xiaolan also turned to look at Mengji with confusion in her eyes. If it weren't for the fact that she knew that Mengji liked cross-dresser Qin Qinghang, she would most likely be asking Enlin with a knife in her hand. Enlin felt like Mengji wanted someone to praise her, so he gave her a thumbs up. Very good, you've done very well. I really admire you. Su Xiaolan. Mengji drew a sharp intake of breath to calm herself down. She reminded herself over and over again not to do anything rash. She was the high and mighty high priestess of the Snow Maidens, so there was no need to hold a grudge against that man. If there's nothing else, I'll be taking my leave. Mengji forced a smile onto her face. Enlin faltered slightly upon hearing this, before realizing what Mengji was implying. Wow, so he was already so powerful that even Mengji was extremely wary of him? Thinking about it, it was quite a sense of accomplishment. He naturally wasn't going to keep Mengji here. After all, this was the battlefield between the Snow Maidens and the opposite shore realm, and the Great Empress and another Tao integration stage super mighty figure were still nearby. For safety's sake, it was best to avoid conflict. All right, Enlin nodded. Then He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence before the entire world suddenly turned black and white. A terrifying chill suddenly engulfed his entire body, as if he had stumbled into the realm of death. Enlin and Su Xiaolan's hearts jolted in unison. They had seen this familiar power in Baihu's city of the sinister spirit beast cesspool before. An ethereal singing voice sounded, reverberating throughout heaven and earth. A green river spread through the sky, extending into infinity and beyond. Countless semi-transparent beasts surged past like waves, and at the very center, there were 4 black-furred goats over 10,000 feet tall, carrying a massive palanquin. The dark sorcery ghost was defeated to such an extent? The ethereal voice was imbued with boundless might and astonishment. Where's the evil dragon Chaos Bone? This time, the huge palanquin came to a halt. and Lin and the others suddenly felt an extremely terrifying will descend upon them. At this moment, the distant sky suddenly turned blue and white. A crisp voice that contained supreme majesty sounded. Ghost Emperor Pajuan, if you want to escape, then escape. Don't even think about attacking a junior. A blue sword light pierced through the sky, turning the sky into a frosty blue. The sharp light tore through the void and went straight for the huge palanquin. A cold snort came from within the palanquin, and an emerald-like protective wall instantly formed. The blue sword projection struck the barrier, and over 10,000 bursts of sword chi erupted, shattering the space within a radius of over a kilometer. Countless semi-transparent beasts howled in anguish as they died. The black curtain of the palanquin was slowly lifted, and a finger stretched out. Lin felt that the fingers seemed to contain infinite power, making him unable to move at all. Green light materialized at the tip of the finger, which then transformed into an arrow over 100 feet in length. The green arrow pierced through space at extreme speed, and before Lin and the others had a chance to react, it had already pierced through Meng Ji's ice god seal. Boom! The blue barrier shattered, and the blood-curdling cries of the dark sorcery ghost erupted into the heavens. And Lin was surprised to discover that the dark sorcery ghost vitality was quickly fading away. Dark sorcery ghost, the great empress is already here. I won't be able to save you, so you'll have to serve me in another form. Ghost Emperor Pajuan's voice sounded from within the palanquin. The Green River army continued onward into the distance. They appeared to be moving very slowly, but they were able to cover over 50 kilometers per second, as if the distance between the Green River and the black and white world were different. An inky black, lifeless ghost materialized beside the palanquin before lowering its head in a respectful manner. It was none other than the deceased dark sorcery ghost. Great Empress, I'll remember the dark sorcery ghost and the chaotic evil dragonbone. Ghost Emperor Pajuan's voice was completely emotionless, but it was as if it had been branded into everyone's heart. The beast-tide army slowly disappeared into the distance. Another extremely terrifying aura, like a shooting star flashing across the sky, tore through the void and chased after the beast-tide army. And Lin had only just begun to get a little nervous before heaving a long sigh of relief. Thankfully, they weren't the Great Empress target. Otherwise, they would be in a lot of trouble. Color returned to the black and white world. Meng Ji also looked up at the sky in the distance with lingering fear in her heart. She was only one step away from Dao integration stage, but she hadn't reached Dao integration stage yet, so the gap between them was like an insurmountable chasm. If Ghost Emperor Pajuan was determined to kill her, then even if the Great Empress was still behind him, there was a very good chance that she would die here. Su Xiaolan helped Lin to his feet, and Lin's hands and legs were still trembling. The reason for this was that he had been completely drained by the Black Dragon, and he wouldn't be able to recover even if he drank 100 bottles of treasure of the kidney. Meng Ji was still here, and the Divine Bat Emperor was still a threat to him. Under normal circumstances, it would probably take at least half a month for him to recover. There was no other way, and Lin's storage ring flashed, and a 6th-grade healing immortal pill appeared in his palm, exuding astonishing energy fluctuations. A pained expression flashed through his face, but he still swallowed the pill in the end. He couldn't allow himself to wither away. He had to become stronger. Boom! A green divine halo appeared above his head, and he activated his stage evergreen technique to its fullest extent. The power of the pill was digested at a crazy rate, and vital energy and life energy converged to form a tidal wave that surged toward Lin's body. Meng Ji's golden eyes widened. What astonishing regenerative abilities! Under the effects of his monstrous regenerative abilities, Lin was back to full health within a few minutes. The effects of the immortal pill were only part of the reason, but the most important factor was the monstrous regenerative and digestive abilities that the second stage of the evergreen technique granted him. Dongfang Zhuangshi made his way over to Lin. It's time for us to go. Ghost Emperor Pajuan and the Divine Bat Emperor are quite close, so we won't be able to keep this a secret any longer. and Lin immediately came to a realization upon hearing this. He had forgotten about this, as the battle had been too tense. He immediately nodded. I still have some history with the Snow Maidens. Thankfully, the Great Empress ignored us, so it is indeed time for us to leave. Everyone was just about to set off when an exquisitely beautiful woman in a golden imperial robe suddenly appeared beside Mengji. Even though she didn't exude any aura, everyone was still completely subdued by her aura. This woman was the most powerful being of the Snow Maidens, the Tao integration stage, super mighty figure, the Snow Empress. Dongfang Zhuangshi's eyelids twitched. Is your zodiac a crow? Say what you're afraid of, and it will come. Enlin, the Great Empress, recognized Enlin, and her eyes flashed. She didn't seem to know what was going on, and she turned to the woman beside her. Mengji, tell me what's going on. Chapter 860. Everyone turned to Mengji with nervous expressions on their faces. The fates of Enlin and the others were in Mengji's hands to a very large extent. Thankfully, the Great Empress wasn't the type of person to start a fight right from the get-go. Otherwise, Enlin and the others would be in dire straits. From the Great Empress' perspective, Enlin was definitely an enemy of the Snow Maidens. He was the type of enemy that she would want to kill as soon as she discovered him. However, Mengji didn't seem to harbor any enmity toward them, which was quite perplexing to the Great Empress. It was also because of this that the Great Empress calmed down and tried to figure out what was going on. Enlin and the others could only pray that Mengji would tell them the truth and not twist the truth. If she could tell them that they had teamed up against the enemy, then they would have a sliver of a chance to escape. If a battle really did break out, they would be the cowards. Dongfang Zhuangshi was a Tao integration stage mythological beast, but he was only a half-dead one. In terms of combat prowess, he was only slightly more powerful than a mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle stage. If the Great Empress really did attack, then they would be in a very dangerous situation. Unless the middle-aged man suddenly made a breakthrough, it would be very difficult for them to even escape, let alone defeat the Great Empress. Mengji paused momentarily before speaking in a calm voice. At the time, I was battling the Ghost Tribe mighty figure and was about to perish. However, they bravely stepped forward to save me from my perilous situation. Enlin's eyes widened. A faint blush appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. Su Xiaolan and the others were also dumbstruck. Did they hear that right? Mengji was saying that they bravely stepped forward to save her from her perilous situation. Were they really that enthusiastic? It was clearly Dongfang Zhuangshi who had been sucked toward them for some reason before being forced to join them. They really wanted Mengji to tell the truth, but they didn't think that her words would be so touching. However, the Great Empress wasn't easy to fool. She turned toward Enlin and the others before speaking in a cold voice. I don't understand. Why did you save my tribe's high priestess? Enlin and Su Xiaolan both had a vendetta against the Snow Maidens. Even so, they still chose to help them. No matter how one looked at it, it was very strange. Enlin's brows relaxed as he replied in a calm voice. That's right. I don't like you Snow Maidens. However, the dark sorcery ghost killed our good friend, the divine poison frog, so we have to find an opportunity to kill it to avenge the divine poison frog. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Su Xiaolan, Xiaoze, Gluttony, and the peerless saber demon all wore expressions of grief. Aonyo's tears flowed down its face upon hearing this, and it looked extremely nostalgic. Who said that honest cow couldn't act? Whenever it thought about how the divine poison frog had left just like that, an inexplicable sense of sorrow welled up in its heart. Its acting skills were top-notch, but it could also be said that it was acting for real. Divine poison frog? The female monarch frowned. Mengji interjected, I didn't know about that. I was wondering why Enlin and that middle-aged man were so enraged to battle the dark sorcery ghost. So it was because of that. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Dongfang Zhuangshi chimed in. The female monarch. The woman in the imperial robe swept her gaze over all of the living beings before settling on Enlin with a smile. The dark sorcery ghost is already in the past. Aren't you afraid that I'll attack you again? And Lin chuckled. We have no intention of fighting, but if you want to fight, then let's fight. Big sister, how about we just let this matter rest? Meng Ji interjected. The female monarch looked at Meng Ji with a hint of surprise before turning to Enlin and the others, only to find that their expressions remained unchanged. She looked at Enlin with a meaningful expression before heaving a faint sigh. So be it. Seeing as Meng Ji was saved by you, let's call it a day. We'll still be enemies the next time we meet. I'm glad to hear that. Enlin smiled. You're relieved that I let you go this time? A hint of a smile appeared on the female monarch's face. No. Enlin shook his head. I'm saying that we'll still be enemies the next time we meet. That's exactly what I was thinking as well. Thank goodness we've come to an agreement. The female monarch's smile stiffened. Meng Ji, Dongfang Zhuangshi. Su Xiaolan looked at the man beside her with a serious expression. He was super handsome. Then you have to be careful next time, my enemy. The female monarch came to her senses and spoke in an indifferent voice. All right, farewell. Enlin joined his hands in a salute with a smile. Let's go. In the past, Enlin was a nobody, and the female monarch wasn't even interested in remembering his name. But now, the female monarch was referring to him as an enemy. This was a clear indication that Enlin's position in her heart had changed. However, Enlin wasn't smug in the slightest. In fact, he felt extremely exhausted. However, he still had to maintain his composure so that the female monarch wouldn't think that he was a coward. Roar! The 10,000-foot-long black dragon carried Enlin and the others into the air before flying into the distance. The female monarch didn't stop them, and they left in a carefree manner. Only Enlin and the others knew just how perilous the situation had been. If the conditions allowed it, they would have long thought of leaving. The female monarch looked at the departing Enlin and the others with a curious expression. Priestess, can you tell me why you let Enlin and the others go now? Meng Ji faltered slightly upon hearing this before a wry smile appeared on her face. This woman was the monarch of all snow maidens, so she wasn't going to be so easily fooled. Enlin is a dragon tribe mighty figure in disguise. Meng Ji finally replied. Very powerful? The female monarch didn't scoff or disbelieve this. Instead, she was quite curious. To be able to stand together with her and argue with her so calmly, if he was really an ordinary soul formation cultivator, then that would really be strange. Meng Ji's heart trembled slightly as she recalled the projection that stood at the pinnacle of the stars. Very powerful. He's most likely a being at the Tao integration stage or above. The female monarch's expression shifted slightly before she nodded. Even if his power has been sealed, there's still a limit to how much power he can unleash. There are simply too many variables, so there's no need to provoke him. You did a good job. Meng Ji nodded in agreement. We've made far too many enemies, and we really can't afford to provoke a mighty figure like Enlin. The female monarch fell silent. Meng Ji, by the way, about this battle, Ghost Emperor Pajun has agreed to cede 10 large cities and 100 small cities as temporary refuge for us snow maidens, the female monarch replied. Isn't that too little? There's no way so many of us can live in such a small place. Meng Ji was a little concerned. Let's settle them down first. We'll think a way to deal with the rest. It's fine as long as all of our brethren can survive. The female monarch turned toward the east, where there was a boundless expanse of snow and ice, as if something terrifying were brewing. For the sake of our brethren, we have to be prepared to become demons at any moment. We have no other choice. Tears welled up in Meng Ji's eyes upon hearing this, but she nodded with a solemn expression. Yes, I've already prepared to sacrifice myself. Chapter 861. Why do you think Meng Ji is helping us? Enlin was a little perplexed. The Great Empress was also there. We have a blood feud with the Snow Maidens, so she shouldn't be helping us. Su Xiaolan's brows furrowed as she spoke. If only there was a way to get the Bone Divine tool out of the black dragon's mouth. And Lin heaved a resigned sigh. It still didn't work. What he didn't know was just how traumatized Meng Ji was after witnessing the black dragon. Her hatred had long since been overwhelmed by reverence. Otherwise, Meng Ji wouldn't have tried her best to help Enlin and the others escape in front of the Great Empress. Enlin didn't really care about this in the past, but things were different now. The Black Dragon was insanely powerful. Not only would it swallow the divine tool, but it would also suck his body dry. He had nothing else to say. Xiao Zhe's speculation didn't seem to be wrong. Wait, Enlin suddenly turned toward the mission technique tab. There was a change in the mission progress. Enlin and the others sat on Xiao Zhe's back as they quickly flew toward the south. With their speed, there's no way they can travel 30,000 kilometers in such a short time. They're dead for sure. Enlin's eyes lit up. That's a good idea. If we go east and enter the holy glacial lands, we'll be able to teleport back to the Kingdom of the Nine States once we get out of the opposite shore realm. He suddenly recalled that the Black Dragon had emerged from his consciousness. Did that mean that he had obtained the divine tool after the Black Dragon swallowed it? Did that mean that he had completed another mission to progress to the return to void stage? Ha! Don't worry. I'll make sure they don't make it back if they try to break through from here. Hiss, hiss, hiss. Countless snake-like hisses converged to form a unified wave. Enlin couldn't help but draw a sharp intake of breath. How the F*CK could this mission be turned back? Also, what the hell was with Meng Ji not hating him anymore? Please continue to hate him. This was the first time Enlin had seen a mission progress that could be reversed. He felt like he was getting further and further away from his dreams. Boom, boom, boom. Hydra, be careful on your side. They're most likely entering the Kingdom of the Nine States from the south. Also, the 4 rings that Yang Yuan had brought back were definitely not ordinary. What did they have to do with the holy beast vermilion bird? Enlin was confused. Enlin was still lost in his reverie. Meanwhile, a storm was brewing somewhere in the opposite shore realm. Something that belonged to the Black Dragon, not something that belonged to him. He was not used to this feeling. If he wanted to make a mighty figure above the return to void stage to test him, it had to be a return to void stage mighty figure. Otherwise, there was no way that a mighty figure like the Ghost Tribe mighty figure who had been driven insane by him wouldn't be listed in the mission description. Your place. He took a glance and discovered that Meng Ji's name was no longer on the list. Intermediate rank God of War Cannon Technique. God of War Heaven Blasting Cannon. Mission progress. Make 10 mighty figures of the return to void stage or above like you. However, make 10 mighty figures of the return to void stage or above hate you. Enlin could not wait to turn his consciousness to the system interface. He didn't even get a chance to finish his sentence when a terrifying energy explosion suddenly erupted from within the encirclement. The Crimson Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra's expressions both shifted. The Emperor estimates that we'll be able to enter the encirclement in 5 minutes. Hiss. Crimson Sun immortal spirit. Wild Saber immortal. What's going on? Are they here? Where are they? Hydra's face was filled with shock. Everyone hit it off and silently changed their direction. The vermilion bird was a holy beast above mythological beasts. Who would be able to imprison the vermilion bird in a place like that? Within a certain set of consciousness, 3 immortal beasts with terrifying auras were communicating with one another. Terrifying energy clashes caused the entire encirclement to tremor violently. Sigh, how infuriating. He had to find a way to increase his popularity in the eyes of these mighty figures. Boom, boom, boom. F*CK. The Wild Saber Immortal's voice sounded. Progress to return to void stage. Receive divine tool 0/1. Speaking of which, what was the reason why Meng Ji didn't hate him? Enlin was completely dumbstruck. Why was there one less F*King one? Xiaoza was immediately displeased. What's so strange about that? Meng Ji was scared after seeing Master's projection, so she wanted to get us out of here as soon as possible. The demonic blood Kirin had chosen to flee toward the holy glacial lands. My side is the safest. Only an idiot would try to break through from my side after what happened in the holy glacial lands. At this moment, a calm and collected voice sounded. Xiaoza nodded in agreement. Yes, Master, you're right. It makes sense that Meng Ji is scared of the power within your ring. 5 minutes? That's enough time for us to shorten the encirclement to 20,000 kilometers. Everything should be over once the Emperor arrives. I have to find an opportunity to ask Yang Yuan. And Lin murmured. The huge blue bat hung up its voice transmission talisman before sweeping up gale-force winds with its massive wings. Demonic blood, Kirin. I finally know where you are. Such a large area of isolation won't last for long, and the defensive line won't be very strong either, so we still have a good chance of breaking through. Dongfang Zhuangshi offered words of consolation. Are you still unable to contact the people in the Kingdom of the Nine States? Dongfang Zhuangshi asked. Lin shook his head. My voice transmission talisman seems to be located at the border of the opposite shore realm. It's been cut off by some kind of power, so I can't contact them. Su Xiaolan suddenly suggested. Our location has already been confirmed. If we go south, we'll be the closest to the Kingdom of the Nine States. However, I feel like the Divine Bat Emperor's defenses will also be more concentrated there. How about we go east? Speaking of which, just what was the background of the black dragon in the ring? Just its projection of its consciousness was already so terrifying, so its true body must be extremely powerful. The encirclement has been established, and it's currently closing in. He thought back to the Vermilion Bird trial grounds, where the Vermilion Bird was imprisoned, and he felt like there were even more mysteries to unravel. Its divine intent was connected to the three immortal beasts at the return to Void Pinnacle stage through some kind of communication network. We've discovered the demonic blood Kirin's whereabouts. Shrink the encirclement immediately. And Lin's chest constricted upon hearing this. How many times do I have to tell you? That's the power within my ring. According to the brainwaves, divine sense fluctuations, and the system's calculations, the current mission progress was 5/10. Lin Junjun, Yanhua, Emperor Zhu Wei, Lu Mingxian, Zhu Shan. In the southeastern region of the opposite shore realm, Xiaoza was quickly flying toward the Kingdom of the Nine States using cloud treading. They knew that the Divine Bat Emperor had most likely discovered their whereabouts, so they couldn't delay any longer. They had to enter the Kingdom of the Nine States as soon as possible. Chapter 862. In the easternmost part of the Permethot continent, the land here had already been covered by the wind and snow, forming a vast expanse of white. If he continued eastward, he would arrive at the territory of the Snow Maidens, the Holy Glacial Lands. The Holy Glacial Lands used to be covered in ice and snow, but now, that place had become even colder. It was as if something was brewing, or as if it was eroding something. That place was so cold that even the Snow Maidens couldn't live there. The Snow Maidens' Holy Flame mission and the Realm Core mission had all failed. They were at the end of their rope, and they finally launched a war against the opposite shore realm. Not long after that earth-shattering battle ended, another terrifying battle broke out. Boom, boom, boom. Heaven and earth shook. The crimson light was like a dragon, blasting away a white figure. Rumble. The white figure collided with a blue water barrier. The water barrier was reinforced by bloody chains that were engraved with divine runes. Despite the fierce impact, it did not budge at all. Instead, it continued to shrink inwards. Ha! Give up, demonic blood Kirin. Without the power of the Tao integration stage, you won't be able to break this infernal realm seal. The white figure was a white ape wielding a pair of sabers, and his name was the Wild Saber Immortal. Even though it was being suppressed by Dongfang Zhuangshi, it was still cackling with arrogance. The infernal realm seal was rapidly contracting around them, and the other two immortal beasts were about to arrive. 5 minutes later, the Divine Bat Emperor would also arrive. Time was of the essence. It was as if a sword of death was about to descend from the sky. There wasn't much time left for Lin and the others. Dongfang Zhuangshi's hands transformed into Kirin claws, which were able to tear through space with a single slash. A sea of blood surged into the heavens behind him as he made his way toward the Wild Saber, immortal like a fiend celestial that had emerged from hell. I can't break this seal. If I kill you, one of the 3 formation cores, won't the seal naturally be broken? Dongfang Zhuangshi spoke in an indifferent voice. The Wild Saber Immortal was not enraged by this. Instead, it chortled with glee. This is the aura a mythological beast should have. Let's kill to our heart's content. Kill me if you can. It brandished its two blades at high speed, each blade carrying the power to split mountains and seas. Dongfang Zhuangshi's claws were like indestructible divine weapons as he crushed the wild saber immortal's saber projection with his bare hands. Bang! His body tore through space and instantly appeared before the wild saber immortal before unleashing a palm strike. So fast, the wild saber immortal raised his twin sabers before him, and an earth-shattering collision ensued. It was sent flying again by the terrifying force. Its body hit the boundary of the purgatory realm lock again, and it spat out a mouthful of blood. In the distance, Enlin stood on Xiao's head. Can you break this array? Su Xiaolan looked at Enlin. She knew that Enlin had a very powerful eye technique that could see through the flaws of arrays. Enlin was indeed using his divine inspection technique, but this spell formation was simply far too massive. It encompassed a radius of over 5,000 kilometers, and in all honesty, it had already exceeded the range of his divine inspection technique. To put it simply, it was his eyesight that limited his ability to cast spells. This won't do. You can only look at a part of the array and not the whole thing. It's very difficult to find a flaw, and Lin said with a headache. Master, let's work together to kill that ape. Xiao's battle intent surged, and Lin pursed his lips. Think about it. How long did it take us to kill the dark sorcery ghost? And that was even with Meng Ji at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage present. No mighty figure the Return to Void Pinnacle stage will die so easily. The other two immortal beasts are about to arrive, and the Divine Bad Emperor is right behind them. We can't hold them off for long. An anxious expression also appeared on Enlin's face. What could he do? What would he do? Enlin, isn't your consciousness supposed to be very powerful? Can you use your consciousness in conjunction with that eye technique of yours? Su Xiaolan asked in an urgent voice. Enlin heaved a forlorn sigh. The divine inspection technique can be used in conjunction with one's consciousness, but the range of one's divine sense is only 500 kilometers at most, and it's extremely taxing on one's consciousness. Wait. A thought seemed to have occurred to Enlin, and his storage ring flashed as an immortal pill appeared in his hand. Su Xiaolan could tell what Enlin was trying to do, and she asked with a concerned expression, Will it work? There's no other way. We have to give it our all in order to escape. A determined expression appeared on Enlin's face. The pill in his hand was none other than the sixth great immortal pill he had obtained from the Pill Pagoda, the Heavenly Soul Pill. The Heavenly Soul Pill could elevate one's consciousness to the very peak for a short time, and it could even exceed the limits of one's consciousness. Enlin swallowed the Heavenly Soul Pill without any hesitation. The power of the pill was activated the instant it entered his body. Boom! Enlin felt like the entire world had changed. Every blade of grass and every tree had become extremely clear to him. The atmosphere in the sky, the flow of vital energy, the activity of microscopic organisms. Nothing could escape his detection. However, he didn't use his consciousness here. Instead, he expanded the range of his divine sense to the maximum. He unleashed his divine sense to the fullest. His divine sense instantly encompassed a radius of 500 kilometers, and it was still continuing to expand. 1,500 kilometers, 1,000 kilometers, and Lin had a splitting headache, and his consciousness felt like it was being torn apart piece by piece. Indescribable pain assaulted his entire body, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. He couldn't hold back the pain any longer, and he screamed in agony. Not enough. This range was still not enough. Continue to expand the range. All of a sudden, a warm and fragrant body threw itself into his arms. Su Xiaolan hugged Enlin tightly. Enlin, hang in there, you can do it. She didn't try to persuade Enlin to give up. Instead, she hugged Enlin tightly. Su Xiaolan only hoped that Enlin would understand that there was still someone standing by his side. Enlin gritted his teeth, and his eyes were bloodshot. His body trembled uncontrollably from the excruciating pain. 1,500 kilometers, 2,000 kilometers, the Heavenly Soul Pill could only completely activate the power of the consumer's consciousness. However, how much power it could unleash and how much it could exceed its limit depended on the consumer. And Lin had expanded it 5 times its original size, which was definitely something that no one had ever done before. And Lin was putting his life on the line. 2,500 kilometers. In that instant, his eyes turned snowy white, and he activated his divine inspection technique. The other 2 immortal beasts were closing in on him, shrinking the range of the spell formation. And Lin was betting that they were already within 2,500 kilometers of the spell formation. Boom! An extremely complex and profound spell formation appeared in his divine sense. There are a total of 38 openings that can be targeted. The closest one is in the air 35 kilometers away in this direction. And Lin extended a finger and pointed toward a certain spot in the air. Boom! There was no need for Lin to say anything. Black lightning erupted from Xiao Zhe's dragon horn, which transformed into a bolt of terrifying lightning that tore through the air toward the direction Lin was pointing toward. And Lin immediately unleashed his lightning amplification technique to elevate Xiao Zhe's lightning to the return to void final stage before adjusting the angle of the lightning with his lightning manipulation technique. Even the slightest deviation in the angle of the lightning could result in a massive misalignment in a distance of 35 kilometers. Black lightning exploded somewhere in the air, and terrifying lightning swept through heaven and earth. Crack! The Purgatory Realm Lock's halo suddenly trembled violently. Even the crimson chain's color dimmed. How could this be? The Wild Saber Immortal's expression shifted drastically with shock and incredulity. How could anyone break this spell formation? It couldn't help but turn toward the man on the dragon's back with a sense of absurdity. In the next instant, an earth-shattering streak of crimson light crashed into the blue barrier, upon which a series of cracks appeared. In the end, the chains were broken and the barrier was shattered into pieces. Go! Dongfang Zhuangshi roared. Lin's vision darkened, and he was about to faint. Su Xiaolan picked Lin up with one hand on his back and the other over his feet. Then, she landed lightly on Xiao Zhe's back. Go! Xiao Zhe let loose a carefree dragon roar, and his body instantly broke through the sound barrier as he charged through the opening in the infernal realm seal at an extremely terrifying speed, thereby escaping the spell formation created by the 3 immortal beasts. Dongfang Zhuangshi and the Wild Saber Immortal retreated as they fought, and they finally escaped from the range of the infernal realm seal. Ha! Are you surprised? You didn't think we would have a secret weapon here, did you? Goodbye, foolish ape-man. Dongfang Zhuangshi chortled with glee as he fled into the distance. Don't run. The Wild Saber Immortal gave chase with an enraged expression. Chapter 863. Before the Purgatory Realm Lock was broken, the Hydra and the Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit were hurrying toward the Wild Saber Immortal. The Wild Saber Immortal's anguished cries continued to ring out from the network. A PFFF. Demonic Blood Kieran, I'm going to cut you down. No. Puff. Apart from the blood-curdling screams, there was also the sound of him vomiting blood as he was violently beaten. Ha! Wild Saber Immortal, it looks like you've been bullied quite badly. Hydra couldn't help but laugh out loud. Then, Hydra's laughter was transmitted into the communication network. Hydra, if you were to face the enemy, your Hydra would be reduced to a headless snake in less than 3 minutes. The Wild Saber Immortal roared with rage. What a joke. Wait for this grandpa to arrive. I'll let you know what true strength is. Hydra said, unconvinced. The Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit's voice sounded with a smile on its face. Wild Saber Immortal, you could be bullied by the demonic Blood Kieran for now. We'll help you bully him when we get there. Wild Saber Immortal. Even in the midst of battle, the 3 immortal beasts at the Return to Void Pinnacle stage were still chatting idly. It was quite clear that in their eyes, this demonic Blood Kieran and his entourage posed no threat at all and were already doomed to die. What they needed to do was to catch a turtle in a jar and simply reel in the net. Very good. There are still 2,500 kilometers left, and the Divine Bat Emperor is not far away from us. The Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit said with a smile. Hee. I hope the Emperor comes a little later. At least let us fight to our heart's content first. It's so exciting to fight against a mythological beast. If I can oppress it, just thinking about it makes me excited, Hydra said greedily. At this time, the Purgatory Realm lock suddenly exploded. The three immortal beasts were stunned. What followed next was a devastating crack. Holy shit, what's going on? Hydra roared. Wild Saber Immortal reply. What happened to our spell formation? The Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit asked anxiously. How is this possible? How could anyone possibly break this grand formation? The Wild Saber Immortal's voice was no less astonished than the other two immortal beasts. Rumble. There was another explosion. The three immortal beasts sensed that a certain part of the formation had shattered, and a gap had appeared. The Hydra and the Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit were dumbfounded. How is this possible? How could such a perfect formation be broken? Moreover, they could sense that the formation was not broken by brute force, but by a precise attack aimed at the flaws of the formation, causing the formation to be on the verge of collapse, and only then did it break with the help of external forces. This is impossible. How can anyone see through the flaws of this formation? The Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit roared. The scene in front of it was even more unacceptable than breaking it with brute force. Wild Saber Immortal, answer me. What's going on? The Hydra was truly in a panic. The spell formation has been broken. A soul formation stage human male discovered its flaws, and he directed the black dragon to attack it, thereby causing the spell formation to fall apart. The Wild Saber Immortal murmured in disbelief. The Scarlet Sun Immortal Spirit had a fiery temper, and it immediately roared. F***CKU, Wild Saber Immortal. Have you been beaten senseless? A soul formation cultivator saw through our array. Do you think we're idiots? I'm not lying to you. The Wild Saber Immortal suddenly yelled in a panicked voice. Don't run. They suddenly lost contact with the Wild Saber Immortal. It was quite clear that the Wild Saber Immortal had left the Infernal Realm lock. It was also quite clear that the demonic Blood Kirin had escaped from the Infernal Realm lock. The two immortal beasts in the information network fell into complete silence. Their jovial conversation made their current silence appear even more awkward. They had envisioned a fierce battle with the demonic Blood Kirin, and they had envisioned the Divine Bat Emperor arriving before them, thereby preventing them from participating in the battle. However, they didn't think that the demonic Blood Kirin would be able to break through the Infernal Realm lock. It's fake, right? It really was broken? The Hydra was still unable to accept this. Hee. And it was seen through by a soul formation stage cultivator? The Scarlet Sun Immortal Spirit chuckled, but its heart was filled with grief. Wasn't this a King joke? Boom! A terrifying aura suddenly descended. The two immortal beasts' hearts constricted at the same time. The Divine Bat Emperor had arrived within the range of the Infernal Realm lock. Where's the demonic Blood Kirin? The Divine Bat Emperor's divine sense was transmitted to the Hydra and the Scarlet Sun Immortal Spirit at the same time. The Hydra, the Crimson Sun Immortal Spirit. The Hydra and the Scarlet Sun Immortal Spirit both fell silent. They roared with rage in their hearts. Brother, the Divine Bat Emperor is asking you a question, so answer me. I'm asking you a question. Answer me. The Divine Bat Emperor was extremely impatient. It then seemed to have discovered something. This spell formation. The Hydra finally spoke first. Emperor, our spell formation has been broken by a mysterious, powerful being. The information network instantly fell silent, and the two immortal beasts' hearts trembled with fear. The spell formation has been broken. Which mysterious, powerful being? The Divine Bat Emperor's voice was terrifyingly cold. The Wild Saber Immortal said that a soul formation stage male cultivator discovered a flaw in the spell formation. The Scarlet Sun Immortal Spirit didn't dare to act up and spoke in a careful voice. Another peculiar silence ensued. Boom! A suffocating aura suddenly erupted. Useless trash. You're all F***king useless trash. You even dare to use the excuse of a soul formation stage male cultivator to break the spell formation. Do you want to F***king die? I'll kill you, The Divine Bat Emperor exploded with rage, and its terrifying aura made the infernal realm seal, which was already on the brink of collapse, crack open and tremor violently. The Scarlet Sun, immortal spirit, and the Hydra trembled uncontrollably. What they said was all true. The Wild Saber Immortal had told them everything. Why did they have to bear the Emperor's wrath? Useless trash. The Divine Bat Emperor was clearly extremely enraged. After all, the Kirin Blood Jade was so close to being in its possession, only for it to escape just like that. Anyone would be enraged. It abruptly flapped its wings, and its body transformed into a streak of blue light as it flew toward the spell formation at an extremely terrifying speed. At the border between the holy glacial lands and the opposite shore realm, 3 streaks of light flew through the sky one after another. The one at the forefront was Xiao Zhe. The one at the center was Dongfang Zhuangshi, who was unleashing spell techniques to keep the Wild Saber Immortal at bay. As soon as everyone entered the snowy region, the laws of heaven and earth finally disappeared. Ha! Goodbye, stupid ape. Dongfang Zhuangshi unleashed a Kirin Great Seal to trap the Wild Saber Immortal for a moment. Come. Mr. Lin, let's go to the Kingdom of the 9 States. Dongfang Zhuangshi was clearly in a good mood after escaping death, and he began to tear open a spatial passageway. However, he tore open a spatial passageway with his claws, only to find that he was unable to do so. How could this be? We've clearly already left the opposite shore realm. Why can't we tear open a spatial passageway? Dongfang Zhuangshi was dumbstruck. Xiao Zhe also tried to tear open a spatial passageway, but his claws were about to snap, but he was still unable to tear open a spatial passageway. Dongfang Zhuangshi, Xiao Zhe, and Lin, frosty winds howled as snow fell from the sky. In the extreme north, there seemed to be a blue light engulfing heaven and earth. I'm talking about you two stupid C***NTS. The Wild Saber Immortal tore open the blood cage with his sabers before pouncing toward Dongfang Zhuangshi with a smug expression on his face. Ever since the holy glacial lands exploded, heaven and earth have undergone a drastic change, and spatial travel is no longer possible. Don't you know that? Dongfang Zhuangshi and Xiao Zhe immediately fled toward the south without any hesitation. The Wild Saber Immortal's aura surged as he carried his massive sabers and chased after them. Just like that, they once again began their pursuit and escape. Chapter 864. Lin and the others finally began to panic. After escaping the opposite shore realm with great difficulty, he arrived at the holy glacial lands. He was just about to confidently bid farewell to his opponent, but he didn't expect that even the holy glacial lands, which had undergone a massive transformation, couldn't allow him to teleport. Did it have to be so exciting? They had lost their trump card. What the F***ck were they supposed to do? The Wild Saber Immortal behind them wasn't much of a threat. But what about the Divine Bat Emperor? They had initially been able to hide in a spatial passageway to avoid detection. But how were they going to outrun the Dao integration stage Divine Bat Emperor just by flying? Hurry, little Xiao. Put more power into it. Fly as fast as you can. And Lin panted heavily as he spoke with difficulty. Master, I'm already flying as fast as I can. Xiao Zhe gritted his teeth and had already unleashed an escape mystic technique. His speed was comparable to that of a return to Void final stage mighty figure. Su Xiaolan shot a glance at Lin. Can you shut up and rest? You don't have to worry about this. And Lin chuckled. Xiaolan, why don't you keep hugging me? Su Xiaolan's expression darkened. Do you like being carried around like a princess that much? No, I like being carried around like a princess by you. And Lin replied with a solemn expression. Su Xiaolan, can you stop flirting at a time like this? The groundhog couldn't take it anymore. Moo, they're flirting? Aonyo stared at Lin with a dumbstruck expression. The groundhog heaved a forlorn sigh. It was suddenly starting to miss the frog. As expected, People with high EQ were only able to hang out with those with high EQ. And Lin wasn't sitting around doing nothing. He was currently dialing his voice transmission talisman with all his might. Even though the signal wasn't very good in the holy glacial lands, it was still better than in the opposite shore realm. Doo-doo, finally it was connected, and Lin was extremely excited. Hey, and Lin, why are you looking for me? The woman's voice was as soft as water, like the most beautiful sounds of nature. Yes, under such circumstances, that voice was the sound of salvation. Hey, piggy bank girl, you finally picked up. Sob, 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 I'm so happy. And Lin was so excited that he almost burst into tears. Beep, beep, beep. The phone was hung up. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, all the beasts, and Lin suddenly realized where he had gone wrong. He had been too excited and had accidentally blurted out Lin Junjun's nickname. Oh my god, you're courting death. He hurriedly dialed the voice transmission talisman again. Fortunately, the other party did not throw a tantrum and reject the voice transmission talisman. The voice transmission talisman was instantly picked up again. Hello, what do you want? Lin Junjun's voice became cold. I'm sorry, Fairy Tianyu. I was wrong. And Lin apologized before immediately continuing. I'm requesting reinforcements from the Celestial Court. I'm being chased by enemies. Ha! My little war god of the Celestial Court. You're being chased by enemies? The other party seemed to be quite elated. You can't even deal with a little war god and are being chased by a return to Void Stage mighty figure? No, it's the Tao Integration Stage Divine Bat Emperor. And Lin replied with a solemn expression. The laughter from the other party's voice transmission talisman abruptly stopped. Lin Junjun, you're not lying to me? Lin Junjun was astonished. Hee, if I chat with you for a few more minutes, the little war god of the Celestial Court is going to be immortalized. And Lin chuckled coldly. Why do you always scare people wherever you go? Lin Junjun took a deep breath. I'll tell my father right away. Don't hang up the voice transmission talisman. My father will follow your aura to find you. And Lin was a little perplexed. Why did this sound so familiar? It seemed like the heavenly lord of Tao and virtue had also followed the voice transmission talisman when he came to reconstruct Xiaolan's Tao Foundation. He felt like this was a very powerful skill. When could he become as outstanding as those mighty figures? Lin Junjun was not one to be careless when it came to matters like this, and she immediately rushed toward the Celestial Thearcha's location of seclusion. The voice transmission talisman fell silent, and Lin gripped tightly onto the voice transmission talisman and didn't dare to hang up the call. Behind him, Dongfang Zhuangshi was defending himself against the Wild Saber Immortal's violent attacks. Ha! You're all dead. The Divine Bat Emperor is on its way, and none of you will escape. The Wild Saber Immortal's dual sabers were imbued with the power to slice through the sun and moon as they slashed down upon Dongfang Zhuangshi, thereby impeding his escape. The groundhog's eyes widened as it stared at the Wild Saber Immortal's saber techniques. What powerful saber techniques! Not only is the saber intent extremely pure, but it's also relentless and relentless, giving the enemy no chance to catch their breath. And Lin suggested expressionlessly, how about we kick the groundhog out and make it the bait? Su Xiaolan nodded without any hesitation. I agree. It was one thing to cheer for the spectators, but what the F***CK was that supposed to be cheering for the enemy? If they didn't get rid of this groundhog, were they supposed to keep it around for the new year? The groundhog shuddered, and it immediately came to its senses. Don't. I was wrong. What a **TTY saber technique. I must have been blind to have said that. Please spare me, Senior and Lin. Splat. The groundhog fell to the ground and begged for its life. And Lin rolled his eyes. So much for being the captain of the Divine Bat Emperor's Divine Guardian Squad. The Divine Bat Emperor would be enraged to death if it saw this. Thus, everyone traveled for several thousand kilometers in a tense atmosphere before finally seeing the border in the distance. This was the border between the Holy Glacial Lands and the Kingdom of the Nine States. Come on, little Xiao. We'll be able to use spatial power once we get to the Kingdom of the Nine States. And Lin encouraged, Don't worry, Master. I'll carry you to the kingdom of the 9 states even if I die. Xiao Zhe unleashed a mystic technique over and over again, and he was on the brink of collapse. He was only persisting through sheer willpower. And Lin's expression darkened. I'm telling you to come on. Why the F asterisk CK are you saying your last words? Rumble, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly erupted from a distance. And Lin was well aware of this. One really couldn't say things without thinking. The Divine Bat Emperor is here. You're all dead. The wild saber immortal chortled with glee before pouncing toward Enlin and the others before being slapped flying by a palm from Dongfang Zhuangshi. Enlin looked behind him to discover a blue figure appearing in the distance. This was an indescribably gargantuan bat. Its crimson eyes seemed to be burning with flames of hell. That's right, it did have eyes. Each and every flap of its blue wings seemed to be able to send ripples through space, and its speed was several times faster than Xiao Zhe's. It's over, it's going to catch up. A chill ran down Lin's spine. Demonic blood, Kirin. I've finally found you. Don't even think about getting away. The voice was imbued with extremely dense blue sound waves, which pierced through space before striking everyone's bodies. In that instant, not only did they feel as if their flesh and blood had been sliced apart, but even their consciousness felt as if it had been torn apart by some kind of power. PFFF. Xiao Zhe was in the middle of unleashing a mystic technique, and his aura had been disrupted by the energy blasts, and he threw up a large mouthful of blood. And Lin's body was already quite feeble to begin with, and he threw up another mouthful of blood. Su Xiaolan, Ao Nyo, and the groundhog also sustained internal injuries from the sound waves. Just one sentence from the Divine Bat Emperor was enough to severely wound everyone. Chapter 865. The arrival of the Divine Bat Emperor was undoubtedly a nightmare for Enlin and the others. No one could resist the might of a Tao integration stage mythological beast, not even Dongfang Zhuangshi. Demonic blood, Kirin. Let's see where you can run to now. The Divine Bat Emperor flew at an extremely fast speed, and it drew closer and closer. It spread its wings, and a square spatial barrier appeared in an area of several hundred kilometers, cutting off all avenues of escape for Enlin and the others. Yes, it wanted to cut off all possibilities. Even if it was killing a chicken, it had to go all out. Aside from the demonic blood, Kirin, all of you can die. The Divine Bat Emperor opened its mouth, and a blue sound wave erupted forth like ripples on water. The space in its wake twisted and twisted, and all things were reduced to dust. An attack imbued with the power of the divine Tao proliferated forth, and Enlin and the others were immobilized by an extremely mighty power. They were about to be killed by the power of the divine Tao, just like that. A white figure appeared in front of them again. Dongfang Zhuangshi let loose an almighty roar as the projection of a crimson Kirin materialized before him, exuding a boundless ferocious might as layers of divine Tao blood barriers materialized in the air. Boom, boom, boom. The Divine Bat Emperor's sound wave attacks shattered one protective barrier after another with unstoppable force. In the end, even the crimson Kirin projection was twisted and torn apart. In the end, the sound waves fell upon Dongfang Zhuangshi's body. Puff! In that instant, his internal organs were all shattered, and he spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with his internal organs. Uncle Dongfang, Enlin, and Su Xiaolan cried out involuntarily. Dongfang Zhuangshi had shielded them with his body, but he was also severely wounded. The Divine Bat Emperor narrowed its eyes. You want to die as well? Hand over the Qilin Blood Jade, and I'll let you die a more painless death. Dongfang Zhuangshi faltered slightly upon hearing this before chortling with glee. Oh, Kirin Blood Jade? Ha! The Kirin Blood Jade is long gone. That's it. The Divine Bat Emperor took a deep breath and chuckled coldly. Hey, you want to lie to me? I want to see how long you can hold on for. I'll tear your body apart right now and see if the Blood Jade is inside. It extended its claws, and each of its fingertips had a divine ring that flickered with terrifying fluctuations. At the same time, a blue, liquid-like energy erupted from the divine Bat Emperor's body, instantly filling the entire space. And Lin and the others actually felt an extremely comfortable feeling. Their souls felt refreshed, as though they were about to float. A peculiar smile suddenly appeared on the divine Bat Emperor's face. "So be it, I've changed my mind. I'll extract your souls and search your souls. Be careful." Dongfang Zhuangshi roared as blood energy erupted from his body, enshrouding Lin and the others. Only now did Lin and the others realize what that comfortable feeling meant. It meant that the devil was tempting them and was about to find a chance to extract their divine souls. An atmosphere of despair enveloped the entire space, and Lin found that he couldn't even think of a way to resist this power. They were like fish on the chopping block. "All right, I'll be taking your divine souls." The divine Bat Emperor's voice was like a sinister gust of wind blowing from the depths of hell. The divine ring on its fingertips instantly expanded, and a monstrous power erupted forth, shattering Dongfang Zhuangshi's blood energy barrier before sweeping directly toward Lin and the others. At this critical juncture, a clear and ethereal voice imbued with peerless imperial might suddenly sounded. "Filthy creature, release them." A massive hole was blasted into the divine Bat Emperor's cube dimension as soon as the sound of the voice reached it. "What?" The divine Bat Emperor's expression shifted. At this moment, a boundless streak of white light imbued with the might of the heavens swept forth at an extremely fast speed, instantly tearing through the blue ripples and the power of the divine ring before crashing into the divine Bat Emperor's body. Boom! Another earth-shattering sound rang out. Energy swept forth for tens of thousands of meters, and the shockwaves from the collision knocked Dongfang Zhuangshi and Lin and the others flying. The divine Bat Emperor let loose a wail of anguish, and its massive body caved in before flying back over 10,000 meters like a rubber ball. Thus, everyone could see the figure enshrouded in divine light in the sky. His imperial robe fluttered in the wind, and he stood tall and straight, maintaining his stance as he unleashed his palm. A prideful battle intent erupted from his body, and all things between heaven and earth had to kneel and kowtow to him, as if he were the emperor of the heavens. And Lin almost shed tears at the sight of that familiar figure. "Celestial Arch, you're finally here." That's right, the Celestial Arch that he had been yearning for all this time had finally made his appearance. Both Lin and Su Xiaolan felt as if their hearts had finally been lifted at the sight of that figure. What followed was a massive sense of security. Who would dare to touch them now that the Celestial Arch had appeared? "Roar, you're the Celestial Arch?" Blue blood flowed from the corners of the divine Bat Emperor's lips. The man enshrouded in divine light had inflicted internal injuries upon it. "That's right, that's me." The Celestial Arch clasped his hands behind his back and puffed out his chest as he looked down at the divine Bat Emperor with a disdainful expression. Gasp! And Lin drew a sharp intake of breath. The Celestial Arch was so intimidating. "Why are you interfering in my business of capturing the demonic blood Kirin?" The divine Bat Emperor flared up with rage. "Heh, you tried to kill the students of the Celestial Court, so why can't I interfere?" The Celestial Arch chuckled lightly. The divine Bat Emperor took a deep breath before turning toward the two soul formation stage cultivators. "That man and woman are the students of the Celestial Court? All right, I can promise you that I'll release them." It could be said that it was making a huge concession with this decision. The Celestial Arch was not to be trifled with. The divine Bat Emperor was fine as long as the demonic blood Kirin didn't run away. The Kirin blood jade was still there. There was no reason that the demonic blood Kirin wouldn't carry such a precious item with him. Those two are indeed the students of the Celestial Court. However, he is also a student of the Celestial Court. The Celestial Arch suddenly pointed at Dongfang Zhuangshi. He then pointed at Xiao Zhe and the other beasts. "They are the disciples and beast pets of my student, so you can't take any of them with you. They're all mine." The Celestial Thearcha's voice reverberated through the air, and everyone instantly fell silent. And Lin, Dongfang Zhuangshi, the spectating wild saber immortal, the divine bat emperor's flesh crawled. Celestial the Arch, you're a thief. Don't go too far. It let loose an almighty roar, and the space within a radius of over 50 kilometers suddenly twisted as boundless power of the divine Tao swept toward the celestial the Arch in a frenzy. A faint smile appeared on the celestial Thearch's face, and his body instantly disappeared. In the next instant, he had already bypassed the boundless attacks and appeared before the divine Bat Emperor. His fist fell. Boom! Space was flattened, and heaven and earth twisted and warped. An anguished wail erupted into the heavens. The divine Bat Emperor was knocked flying again, and it threw up another mouthful of blood. If you want to fight, then fight, but you're not taking any of the humans or beasts here with you. Boundless platinum divine light enshrouded the man in the imperial robe, and each and every step he took resonated with the great Tao of heaven and earth. The divine Bat Emperor's rage soared to the heavens. Celestial the Arch, you're forcing the sinister spirit beast cesspool to wage war against the human race. The celestial Thearch's eyes narrowed slightly. What the hell is the sinister spirit beast cesspool? Setting aside a war against the human race. Just you 4 mythological beasts are enough for my celestial court to raise your *TTY place to the ground several times over. The divine Bat Emperor's body trembled with rage, but it had no response. And Lin, Su Xiaolan, all of the beasts, and even Dongfang Zhuangshi were all looking up at the peerlessly domineering man in the sky with expressions of admiration and reverence on their faces. This kind of roguish and domineering figure was really too attractive. Chapter 866. The divine Bat Emperor was extremely enraged. It was so close to getting its hands on a piece of juicy meat, only for it to be snatched away by a pervert just like that. Who could complain to? At this moment, a return to void stage immortal beast with over 100 snake heads flew toward them from afar. It was standing atop a cloud of poisonous mist. At the same time, a fire immortal spirit that shone as brightly as the sun descended from another direction with crimson flames raining down from its body. Who dares to provoke the divine Bat Emperor? Die! The Hydra roared in unison. Burn, burn, burn. Burn all those who are disloyal and unjust. Divine Bat Emperor, I'm here to help you. The Crimson Sun immortal spirit also hurtled toward them. Come on, Mother F***Ker. F***CK off. The divine Bat Emperor roared with rage. The power of its voice transformed into extremely terrifying shockwaves that swept toward the Crimson Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra. Boom! The poisonous mist was dispersed, and the flames were knocked flying back. The two returned to void stage mighty figures faltered as blood trickled down the corners of their mouths. They had sustained internal injuries from the divine Bat Emperor's roar. The divine Bat Emperor was already in a fit of rage, and these two pieces of trash were unable to trap the demonic blood Kirin even after using the Infernal Realm lock. How could it calm down now? The wild saber immortal chuckled coldly as it looked at its two comrades. If you've done something wrong, then you should have kept your presence to a minimum. Why did you have to jump out and cause trouble? Look at how smart it was. Ever since the divine Bat Emperor had appeared, it had been standing silently in the background. Even the Celestial the Arch couldn't be bothered to pay attention to it. This was the way to survive. The Crimson Sun immortal spirit and the Hydra both shuddered in fear upon seeing this. Holy Mother of God, wasn't that man the Celestial the Arch of the Celestial Court? They were just trying to attack the Celestial the Arch just a while ago. That was King suicidal. Just thinking about it now gave them a sense of lingering fear. The Celestial the Arch was simply far too renowned. Even with the divine Bat Emperor present, the two returned to void stage immortal beasts were still trembling in fear. That powerful aura from before instantly shrunk, completely withering away. The divine Bat Emperor glared at the Celestial the Arch. Celestial the Arch, you're preventing me from capturing the demonic blood Kirin, which is equivalent to stealing my Kirin blood jade. I'll remember this. The celestial arch faltered slightly upon hearing this before turning to Dongfang Zhuangshi with a curious expression. "You're the demonic blood Kirin?" Dongfang Zhuangshi nodded with a speechless expression. Divine Bat Emperor. The celestial thearch's eyes lit up with excitement. Divine Bat Emperor, I'm blind and don't know anything about the demonic blood Kirin. But if you want to take these living beings, you'll have to step over my dead body first. Unlin, PFFF. The Divine Bat Emperor threw up a mouthful of blood. F*CK. So the celestial arch didn't know that person was the demonic blood Kirin? Blind your sister. Could he be any more shameless? The Divine Bat Emperor felt like it had been humiliated, and its body trembled with rage. How infuriating! But there was nothing it could do. After all, the celestial arch was one of the most powerful beings among all of the Tao integration stage super mighty figures. All of the powerful beings present combined wouldn't be a match for him. Remember this isn't over. I, the Divine Bat Emperor, am going to make you regret what you've done today. The Divine Bat Emperor swept its gaze over everyone before finally flapping its wings and flying into the air. Throwing down some harsh words could, to a certain extent, save its face as a divine beast. The other three immortal beasts at the return to Void Pinnacle stage also hurried along upon seeing the Divine Bat Emperor's retreat, fearful that they would be captured by the celestial arch if they were too slow. The Divine Bat Emperor's menacing army finally fled with dejected expressions due to the arrival of the celestial arch. Unlin and the others were extremely excited as they looked on at the departing Divine Bat Emperor, and they immediately flew toward the celestial arch. "Thank you for your help, celestial arch. You were so cool just then." Unlin was extremely excited. The celestial arch shot a disgruntled glance at Unlin. I really don't know what to say about you. You provoked a blood tribe mighty figure at the return to Void Pinnacle stage during one of the end-of-term examinations at the United University of Cultivation, and our Emperor Tianhuang had to step in as reinforcements. Your trip to the sinister spirit beast cesspool this time was even more ridiculous. You even attracted a Tao integration stage super mighty figure. If I hadn't stepped in as reinforcements, how would we have been able to keep the situation under control? The celestial arch massaged his brows as he spoke. I don't even dare to call you out on missions anymore. What if you provoke a goddess Nuon next time? Who would be your reinforcements then? Aonyo was astonished. So Senior and Lin is this powerful? In terms of causing trouble, the groundhog added. You don't know *T. Causing trouble is also a skill. Xiaoze stepped forward to defend his master's dignity. And Lin chuckled sheepishly. Sigh, I didn't want to. Isn't this just fate? The celestial arch was a little speechless as he stared at the man before him. Why did those words sound so familiar? He then turned toward another man. This man was a little more special. He was a middle-aged man with a pair of Kirin horns, crimson eyes, and a gentle and refined expression. Who would have thought? Demonic blood Kirin. You're not dead, and you've become like this. The celestial arch clicked his tongue in wonder as he appraised the middle-aged man before him with an intrigued expression. A faint smile appeared on Dongfang Zhuangshi's face. Long time no see, celestial arch. I'm no longer the demonic blood Kirin. I'm just an ordinary human. The celestial thearch's face convulsed slightly. Can you put away those blinding Kirin horns before you say that? Dongfang Zhuangshi stroked the horns on his head and shook his head with a solemn expression. I can't. She said that my horns are very beautiful, so this is the perfect me. By the way, I have a human name now. I'm Dongfang Zhuangshi. PFFF. The celestial arch snorted before immediately coming to a realization. Cough, cough, cough. It's a little cold in the holy glacial lands. I've caught a cold. That's a nice name. The celestial arch praised sincerely. Thank you. Dongfang Zhuangshi's expression eased slightly upon seeing that his name had been acknowledged. Unlin was astonished once again. He was in awe of the celestial thearch's adaptability. By the way, how did you escape from Panga's seal? The celestial arch changed the subject. Dongfang Zhuangshi. That's a long story. The two of them began to converse again. and Lin and Su Xiaolan were extremely surprised to see the two of them chatting like old friends. Did these two know each other? Fate sure was mysterious. Everyone flew back to the Kingdom of the Nine States as they conversed. The Celestial Arch learned from Dongfang Zhuangshi that the Kirin Blood Jade had been swallowed by Enlin, and he was completely envious. He looked at Enlin with envy and jealousy in his eyes. Celestial Arch, I have something to say, but I'm not sure if I should say it. Enlin looked at the Celestial Arch with an obedient expression. The Celestial Arch immediately adopted a benevolent smile upon hearing this. Mr. Enlin, you can tell me what you want to say. There's no need to hold back. All right. Enlin nodded with anticipation in his eyes. We've already completed the mission entrusted to us by the Celestial Court. When are you going to give me the 5 million Spirit Stones for collecting information and at least 10 million Spirit Stones for entering the vast land of blood? The Celestial Thearch's flesh crawled upon hearing this. You've already reaped all the benefits, and you still dare to ask me for money? He forced a smile onto his face. No problem. I'll pay you when we get back to the Celestial Court. F***CK. He had made a promise, so he had to fulfill it no matter what. Chapter 867. The Celestial Arch was so tired. The sinister spirit beast cesspool uprising had been resolved, but it had also been resolved. The culprit was right here, so how could he not resolve it? However, the Celestial Court didn't get anything, but instead gave the 4-9 Immortal sect a huge pile of spirit stones. How was he supposed to explain this? He was so aggrieved, the Celestial Emperor really wanted to slap himself in the face a few times. Why did he have to say such prodigal words for no reason? Soon, everyone began to discuss the battle between the Snow Maidens and the opposite shore realm. The Celestial Arch heaved a faint sigh. So be it. I shouldn't have told you about this. However, seeing as you've already encountered it, I'll tell you about it in detail. I'll tell you about the changes in this world. Enlin suddenly had a feeling that he didn't want to hear about this. He had a feeling that if he learned about something, he would be dragged into it. Sometimes, knowing too much really wasn't a good thing. We have to start with the Purple Star Civilization. The Celestial Arch began. Stop. Enlin cut him off with a wave of his hand. I'm not listening. The Celestial Arch choked upon hearing this. He was only halfway through his sentence, and the other party didn't want to hear it. This was the first time he had encountered something like this, and it made him feel very uncomfortable. Even many return to Void Stage Celestial Immortals don't know about this level of information. Are you sure you're not interested? Su Xiaolan also backed down upon hearing this. I'm not listening. I'm not listening. Something like this could easily lead to karma. Some important matters were like a whirlpool. Once one learned about it, they could plunge deeper and deeper into danger. The Celestial Arch. Are you two that afraid of trouble? The Celestial Arch glared at the two of them before pointing at the snow-covered world behind them. Look at the holy glacial lands. The Snow Maidens are homeless and have nowhere to go. Aren't you worried that the Kingdom of the Nine States will become the same? And Lin shook his head relentlessly. I'm not looking. The Celestial Thearch's lips twitched. How infuriating. The Celestial Arch was about to reveal an earth-shattering secret, but the other party was turning him down. All of a sudden, a spatial fluctuation erupted. A faint power of the divine, Tao, suddenly enshrouded Enlin and the others. Enlin was slightly taken aback. He didn't know what was going on. Then, he heard a certain voice actually penetrate through space and directly affect his body and divine soul. Haha, when I speak, you too have to listen even if you don't want to. Enlin and Su Xiaolan. Even Xiaoza was unable to resist that voice. It was extremely clear and resounding like thunder, and it seemed to be deeply imprinting itself into his mind. Enlin and Su Xiaolan glared at the Celestial Emperor. The Celestial Emperor wore a calm expression, but his heart was filled with a wonderful sense of satisfaction. Humph, little guy, you want to fight with me? We'll have to start from the Purple Star Civilization, the Celestial Arch said in a slow voice. Enlin and Su Xiaolan covered their ears with their hands, but the sound still penetrated through the obstruction and reached the depths of their souls. They couldn't stop it at all. They were desperate. Do you know why the Purple Star Civilization was destroyed? The celestial arch continued. And Lin rolled his eyes, and Su Xiaolan turned her head away. No one paid any attention to him. I want to know why the ancient Tai Chu realm was destroyed, Xiaoza grumbled. The celestial arch. What a bunch of unqualified listeners. He forced himself to calm down before continuing. The Purple Star civilization was once the pride of the human race. Their power was unrivaled across the entire Tai Chu continent. Do you know why they were suddenly destroyed? However, it was a pity that none of the listeners were interested in his question, and Lin even picked at his ear in an extremely uncooperative manner. The celestial arch ignored him and continued. Not many living beings know the truth about the destruction of the Purple Star civilization. However, the super mighty figures who do know the truth are extremely secretive about it. Then why do you insist on telling me this? And Lin was extremely enraged. You have the right to know. The celestial arch looked at Enlin with a serious expression. What right? I'll change it, all right? Enlin wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The celestial arch couldn't be bothered to respond to Enlin. He wouldn't be happy if he didn't say this out loud. In reality, the Purple Star civilization was destroyed by divine retribution. The celestial arch continued. Enlin, Su Xiaolan, and all of the beasts were dumbstruck upon hearing this. Divine retribution? Are you kidding me? Is there really something capable of destroying an entire civilization in this era? The celestial arch was quite pleased to see that everyone's attention had finally been drawn to his story. That's right, you heard me right. They were indeed punished by divine retribution. The Purple Star civilization was very powerful. They used their powerful technology to make all of their citizens attain the Tao body stage, thereby unleashing the latent potential of the human race to the fullest extent. Normal humans could live for over 1,000 years with ease. Their seas of vital energy can be artificially constructed, as can spirit-nurturing stage spirit roots, and even soul formation stage domains, return of void stage spatial powers, and the power of the divine Tao can be created through extremely advanced technological means. The Purple Star civilization was undoubtedly the most dazzling existence on the entire Tai Chu continent. However, they should never have challenged the dignity of the heavens. The celestial thearch's voice finally fell as he spoke. As their technology progressed, they tried to steal the power of Tao. All things in this world have their own Tao, but the Tao integration stage requires a cultivator to observe all things in this world. How could something like this be created through technology? They failed. They failed many times. And Lin recalled the fiend celestial of 6 paths from Shun Yin's memories, as well as the demonic baby and the holy trinity fiend celestial he had encountered in the small phoenix world. I don't know the exact details, but I do know that the Purple Star civilization gave up on creating artificial Tao integration stage super mighty figures after many failures. The celestial arch continued. It's good that they know when to back down. Enlin nodded. The celestial arch shot a glance at Enlin. After that, they planned to create the heavenly Tao in one fell swoop. Enlin, everyone, the Tao integration stage relies on one's intent realm and observation. It requires a living being to attain perfection one step at a time, and it can't be forcefully instilled or created. However, the heavenly Tao is different. The heavenly Tao is an entity that exists, yet also doesn't exist. It can even be said to represent all existences, and it can also be said to be a consciousness that transcends beyond the world. I don't know what the Purple Star civilization discovered, but they were convinced that the heavenly Tao could be obtained. They wanted to create the most perfect human race and use the human Tao to control the heavenly Tao, thereby allowing the heavenly Tao to bless the human race, thereby allowing the human race to prosper and ascend to a higher realm. The celestial arch spoke in a slow voice, and each and every word was imbued with astonishing information. What happened after that? And Lin asked, Hee, is your body honest now? A faint smile appeared on the celestial thearch's face, as if he had just won some sort of victory. And Lin, after that, for some reason, the Purple Star civilization suddenly punctured a massive hole in the sky. In the end, the massive hole disappeared. All of the living beings of the Purple Star civilization were cursed, and so was the entire world. It didn't matter if you were an ordinary mortal or a powerful Tao integration stage super mighty figure. Everything was destroyed within 3 days of the whole appearing. Tell me, if this isn't divine retribution, then what is? The Celestial Arch spoke with a serious expression as he looked at Enlin and the others. Enlin fell silent upon hearing this. There was nothing wrong with this. The heavens had been stabbed, so they naturally had to retaliate. But why did it sound like the heavens were so humane? But what does this have to do with the Snow Maidens? Su Xiaolan was perplexed. The Celestial Arch heaved a forlorn sigh. That's because the divine retribution hasn't ended yet. The destruction of the Purple Star civilization is only the beginning.